The Oregon coast wakes cold in October. Fog rolls in from the Pacific like something alive, something hungry, swallowing the rocky shore in gray silence. The kind of morning that makes you think about endings, about mortality, about all the things you should have said but never did. Jack Holden stands at the edge of the tide pool, hands shoved deep in the pockets of his worn field jacket, watching the coroner's team load a body bag into their white van. His breath comes out in small clouds. The wind off the ocean cuts through fabric like it isn't there at all. 58 years old, and he still feels the cold, the same way he did at 19 in the rice paddies of Vietnam. Some things you never get used to. The body bag is light, too light. Captain Owen Blackwell only weighed 140 pounds at the end. 87 years old, most of it spent in service to something bigger than himself. Navy SEAL, Coast Guard, mentor, father figure to every young sailor who came through his command and didn't know their ass from a cleat hitch. The last father figure Jack had left. Sheriff Reeves stands nearby, clipboard in hand, his gut hanging over his belt like a declaration of comfortable retirement. He's already made up his mind about what happened here. Old man took a walk before dawn, slipped on wet rocks, hit his head. Tide came in. Simple. Tragic, but simple. Jack's jaw tightens. Nothing about this is simple. He crouches down, knees protesting. 30 years as a SEAL teaches you things. How to read a scene, how to see what other people miss. The defensive wounds on Owen's hands, the split knuckles that say he fought back, the wrong angle of the body placed carefully in the shallow water, not washed there by tide, the missing ring, the one Owen wore every day for 60 years, the one with his SEAL trident engraved on worn gold. Gone. Someone took it. Trophy hunters always take something. Sheriff Reeves clears his throat. His voice has that practiced sympathy, the kind that comes from delivering bad news to families for 30 years and meaning it less each time. Captain Blackwell was a good man. Hell of a career. But at his age, these things happen. Memory goes, balance goes. He probably got disoriented, tried to get back up to the road, and just couldn't make it. Jack doesn't look up. He's still studying the rocks, the pattern of water, the small details that tell a story different from the one Reeves wants to write. He didn't slip. Excuse me? Jack stands slowly, his full height, and Reeves takes an unconscious half-step back. Some men carry their service with them. It shows in how they move, how they look at you. Jack Holden spent 3 decades learning how to be dangerous, and retirement doesn't erase that kind of training. The tide was going out when he died, not coming in. That's why his body's in a pool instead of washed up on the main beach. Someone put him there. And Owen didn't take morning walks. Bad hip. Couldn't make it down these rocks even if he wanted to. Reeves' expression shifts from sympathy to irritation. You calling me stupid, Holden? I'm calling you wrong. The coroner's van starts its engine. The sound carries across the empty beach, mixing with the crash of waves and the cry of gulls. Owen's body is leaving. Soon there'll be an autopsy, a report, a quick burial. Case closed. One more old veteran gone. And the world keeps turning. Reeves flips his clipboard shut. You want to make this complicated, you file a report. Otherwise, I got 3 other cases this week, and a budget that doesn't pay for conspiracy theories. He walks away, his boots crunching on loose stone. Jack watches him go. 30 years of playing politics, of dealing with men who care more about clearance rates than truth. He's tired of it, tired of watching good men get dismissed, tired of being told to let things go. But Owen taught him something in Vietnam, kneeling in mud with enemy fire ripping through the canopy above them. You don't quit on your team. You don't quit on the people who saved your life. Ever. Jack turns back to the ocean. The fog is lifting now, revealing the dark water stretching to the horizon. Somewhere out there beneath the surface are the answers. Owen spent 35 years looking for them. Now he's dead, and Jack knows it's no coincidence. There's a moment, standing there on the rocks, with the taste of salt on his lips, and the weight of grief settling into his chest, where he considers walking away, going back to his small apartment with its minimalist furniture, and its echoes of a life half-lived. Opening the bottle of whiskey he keeps under the sink for moments exactly like this, drowning the guilt and the anger, and the bone-deep exhaustion of fighting battles nobody else believes in. But then he sees it, a scrap of fabric caught on a barnacle-encrusted rock, dark blue, same color as the windbreaker Owen wore yesterday at the VFW hall. Jack pulls out his phone, takes a photo, then carefully works the fabric free. The edge is torn, not frayed from age, torn, like someone grabbed Owen's jacket, and Owen pulled away hard enough to rip it. He fought back. Owen fought until the end. Jack pockets the fabric. Evidence, not that Reeves would care, but evidence nonetheless. His phone buzzes. Text message from an unknown number, just 3 words. Check your mail. Jack stares at the message. The area code is local, Coldwater Bay. But the number isn't in his contacts. He types back, "Who is this?" No response. The walk back to his truck takes 15 minutes, climbing the narrow path up the cliff face to the parking area where his Ford sits alone. The sun is burning through the fog now, turning everything gold and sharp, beautiful and indifferent. The world doesn't pause for grief. His apartment is 3 miles inland, a second-floor walk-up above a hardware store on Main Street. 1 bedroom, kitchenette, bathroom with pipes that rattle, furniture from Goodwill in the VA surplus store, no photos on the walls, no mementos, no evidence that anyone actually lives here instead of just occupying space between missions that ended 15 years ago. The mailbox downstairs has a single padded envelope, no return address. His name written in handwriting he recognizes immediately, shaky but deliberate. The handwriting of a man with Parkinson's trying to keep his hand steady enough to finish one last letter. Owen's handwriting. Jack takes the stairs 2 at a time. Inside his apartment, he locks the door, checks the windows. Old habits from old wars. Then he sits at the small kitchen table and opens the envelope. Inside is a USB drive, military grade, the kind with encryption you can't crack without serious hardware or serious skills. There's a photograph, old and faded, the colors washed out to pale ghosts of what they were. 8 men in combat gear, faces young and confident, standing on a beach somewhere hot and humid. Jack recognizes himself immediately, 4th from the left, 19 years old and 50 pounds lighter. Richie Gomez, Tom Brennan, Carlos Silva, Owen Blackwell. 7 of those men are dead now. There's a newspaper clipping, yellowed with age, the headline in bold black letters. 7 Navy SEALs die in training accident. Below it, in smaller print, the date, September 1987. Jack remembers that day like it was yesterday, and like it was someone else's life at the same time. He was supposed to be on that training mission. Underwater demolition exercise off the coast of San Diego. 8-man team, standard procedure. But he got pulled last minute, reassigned to a different operation, some classified bullshit that turned out to be 3 days of sitting in a safe house in Tijuana, eating bad tacos, and watching drug dealers who never showed. 8 men went out on that boat. Only 1 came back. The last item in the envelope is a handwritten note. Owen's handwriting again, worse than before. Like he was writing in a hurry or in pain or both. Jack, if you're reading this, I'm gone. They're cleaning house, you're next. The Drake knows you know. Protect Sarah, trust no one official. It's all in the files. Lighthouse. The tractor knows. The signature is just initials, OB. Jack reads it 3 times. Each word is a punch to the gut. Sarah, his daughter. He hasn't spoken to her in 3 years. Not since Maria's funeral. And even then, it was just silence and recrimination. And all the weight of 15 years of estrangement pressing down until they couldn't breathe. Protect Sarah. Why would Owen's last message mention Sarah? The Drake. That name lands like a depth charge. Senator Raymond Drake, former Navy Admiral, Armed Services Committee Chairman, war hero, decorated veteran, political powerhouse, and Owen's oldest enemy. Jack stands, paces the small apartment, 5 steps to the window, 5 steps back. His mind is working through scenarios, threat assessments, tactical considerations. If Owen's message is right, if Drake knows Jack knows something, then Jack's already a target. And if Sarah's involved somehow, she's a target too. He pulls out his phone, finds Sarah's number in his contacts. His thumb hovers over the call button. 3 years of silence. 3 years of her not returning messages, not answering emails, making it very clear she wants nothing to do with him. And now he's supposed to call and say what? Your godfather's dead and maybe you're in danger. He calls anyway. It rings 6 times before going to voicemail. Her voice, professional and distant. This is Sarah Martinez. Leave a message. The beat feels like an accusation. Sarah, it's Jack. It's your father. I need to talk to you. It's about Owen. It's important. Call me back. He hangs up, knowing she won't call, knowing she'll see his name and delete the message without listening. That's what she's done for 3 years. Why would today be different? Jack looks at the USB drive sitting on his table. Owen's legacy. 35 years of investigation into something so dangerous it got him killed. And now, it's Jack's responsibility to finish it. His laptop is old, military surplus like everything else in his life, but it has the software he needs. Decryption programs from his SEAL days, updated through contacts who still owe him favors. He plugs in the drive and starts the cracking process. It'll take hours, maybe days. Military-grade encryption doesn't break easy. While the programs run, Jack makes coffee, strong and black, and sits at the window looking out at Coldwater Bay. The town is small, 3,000 people, mostly fishermen and retirees, and people who never left because they never figured out how. He moved here 5 years ago after his marriage imploded, and the drinking got bad enough that the Seattle PD stopped offering him consulting work and started suggesting he check himself into rehab. This was supposed to be his quiet retirement, cold cases for the local police department, part-time, low stress, nothing that required him to be more than half present. Owen lived here too, in a small house on the north end of town, walking distance to the VA clinic and the VFW hall, where he spent his afternoons playing chess with other old men and telling the same war stories to anyone who would listen. They had coffee every Tuesday morning at Rita's Diner. Talked about nothing and everything, the closest thing to friendship Jack had left. And now Owen's dead, murdered on a beach 5 minutes from his house, and the official story is accidental death because investigating means work, and work means budget, and budget means someone has to care enough to fight for it. Jack cares enough. His phone rings. Unknown number. Same area code as the text from the beach. He answers. The voice on the other end is female, young, scared. Mr. Holden, this is Lieutenant Reeves. Daniel Reeves, Coast Guard. Not the sheriff, the son. Jack's met him once or twice. Mid-30s, former Marine, came home from Afghanistan with a Purple Heart and a medical discharge. Good kid, serious, the kind of young officer who actually gives a damn. What can I do for you, Lieutenant? I was at the beach this morning. My father, the sheriff, he told me to stay back, said it was his jurisdiction. But I saw the body. I saw Captain Blackwell. And sir, with respect, that wasn't an accident. Jack's grip tightens on the phone. Go on. I did 2 tours as a Marine. I've seen combat deaths. I've seen accidents. What happened to Captain Blackwell was neither. Someone killed him. Made it look like an accident. But anyone with field experience would see it. Why are you calling me? Because Captain Blackwell talked about you. Said you were the best SEAL he ever trained. Said if anything happened to him, you'd be the one to figure out why. And because I found something. What did you find? Not over the phone. Can you meet me? There's a place. Old Marina repair shop on Pier 7. Abandoned. No one goes there. When? 1 hour. The line goes dead. Jack stares at his phone, then at the USB drive still churning through encryption cycles on his laptop. 1 hour means he has to move now. Gear up. Weapons check. The Sig Sauer P226 he carried for 30 years, cleaned and oiled every Sunday out of habit more than need. 3 spare magazines, his old tactical knife, the one with his name etched on the handle and bloodstains he never quite got out of the grooves. He leaves the laptop running and heads out. Pier 7 is on the industrial side of Coldwater Bay, where the fishing boats dock and the cannery used to operate before it closed in the 90s. The repair shop is exactly what Daniel described. A corrugated metal building with broken windows and graffiti tags from bored teenagers. Jack approaches carefully, scanning for surveillance, for threats, for anything that feels wrong. Daniel Reeves is waiting inside, in full Coast Guard uniform, looking nervous. He's got a duffel bag at his feet. The kid speaks first. Thank you for coming, sir. I wasn't sure you would. Owen was my commanding officer. More than that, he was family. If you've got information about what happened to him, I need to hear it. Daniel nods, then crouches down and unzips the duffel. Inside is Owen's windbreaker, the one he was wearing when he died. But more than that. There's a waterproof case, the kind divers use, sealed tight. I found this when I dove the site. My father doesn't know. He thinks I was doing routine patrol. But Captain Blackwell called me yesterday morning. Said if anything happened to him, I should check the deep water off the point. Said there'd be something there I needed to find. Jack takes the case, examines it. The seal is intact. Owen left this deliberately, knowing someone might come looking, knowing it might be his last act. What's inside? I don't know, it's locked. Combination. I figured you might know what it is. Jack turns the case over. There's a small etching on the back, numbers barely visible. 11/29, November 29th, Victoria Blackwell's birthday. Owen's daughter, Sarah's mother, dead of cancer 3 years ago. Jack spins the combination lock. The case opens. Inside are more photographs, documents, financial records, and a small digital recorder, the kind reporters use for interviews. Jack presses play. Owen's voice fills the abandoned repair shop, tired and rough and absolutely certain. Jack, if you're hearing this, they got me. Raymond Drake ordered the hit on our team in '87. He was running drugs through Southeast Asia using Navy logistics. We found out. He killed 7 men to silence us. But that was just the beginning. He's been running the same operation for 35 years. Now through Pacific Crest Logistics, billions in cartel money, that's how he funds his political machine. I have proof, but it's not here. It's in the lighthouse. Point Morrison Light Station, north of Coldwater. Abandoned. Since 2005. I stored everything there. Documents, recordings, samples. But Jack, they know about Sarah. She's been investigating Pacific Crest for a story. They'll use her daughter to control her, or eliminate both. You've got one choice. Get that evidence. Expose Drake before he silences your family like he silenced ours. And Jack, I'm sorry I'm leaving you with this, but you're the only one I trust to finish it. Don't quit on me, sailor. The recording ends. The silence that follows is heavy, pressing down like water at depth. Jack stands there, holding the recorder, letting Owen's words sink in. Sarah's investigating Pacific Crest. That's why Owen mentioned her. That's why she's in danger. And Nina. Owen said daughter. Sarah has a daughter, Jack's granddaughter. 9 years old now. He's never met her, never even seen a photo. That's how complete the estrangement has been. Daniel's voice breaks through the fog of thought. Sir, what do we do? Jack looks at the kid. Young, eager, capable, but inexperienced in the kind of war Owen just declared from beyond the grave. We? There's no we, Lieutenant. This is personal. This is SEAL business. You should walk away while you can. With respect, sir, Captain Blackwell was my friend too. He helped me after I came back from Afghanistan. PTSD, nightmares, drinking. He's the one who got me into the Coast Guard, gave me purpose again. I owe him. Jack recognizes that tone, that determination. He used it himself 30 years ago when Owen pulled him out of a firefight in Da Nang and told him he was too stubborn to die. You understand what you're signing up for? Drake's a United States Senator. He has resources, power, people who will kill on his orders without hesitation. This isn't combat. This is something uglier. I understand. Jack nods slowly. Sometimes you can see it in someone. The moment they stop being a kid and start being a warrior. This is that moment for Daniel Reeves. First thing we do is secure the evidence at the lighthouse. Then we find Sarah and get her somewhere safe. After that, we figure out how to take down a senator without getting killed in the process. The plan sounds simple. It isn't. But plans never are once the shooting starts. They load Owen's case into Jack's truck and drive north, following the coastal highway as it winds through forests of Douglas fir and Sitka spruce. Point Morrison Light Station sits on an isolated peninsula, accessible only by a narrow access road that's more potholes than pavement. The lighthouse itself is a white tower, paint peeling, windows boarded up, standing like a ghost against the gray sky. Jack parks out of sight of the main road. They approach on foot, moving quietly through the underbrush. Old habits. Even though the place is abandoned, even though there's no reason to think anyone would be watching, you don't break protocol. Protocol keeps you alive. The keeper's cottage attached to the lighthouse is in worse shape than the tower. Roof sagging, walls stained with water damage, door hanging loose on rusted hinges. But when Jack pushes it open, he sees signs of recent activity. Footprints in the dust, a camping chair, empty water bottles. Someone's been here. Daniel sees it too. His hand goes to his sidearm. Jack signals him to hold position while he clears the ground floor. 2 rooms, kitchen, storage, nothing. He moves to the stairs, testing each step before putting his weight down. The wood creaks but holds. The second floor is empty except for one room, the lantern room. And there, spread across the floor like an investigation board, is Owen's life work. Photographs pinned to the walls, documents, maps, financial records, newspaper clippings, all of it connected by red string in a pattern that takes Jack 5 minutes to understand and 5 seconds to know it's the truth. Raymond Drake, commander in 1987, overseeing SEAL operations in the Pacific, but also, according to the documents, meeting with known cartel members, accepting payments into offshore accounts, ordering supply changes that put faulty equipment into the hands of SEAL teams. The training accident wasn't an accident. Drake ordered the demolition explosives to be swapped. Wrong chemical composition. Wrong stability rating. When the team went underwater and set the charges for detonation, they exploded early. Too much force. 7 men died instantly. Only Thomas Garrett survived. He was deepest, protected by water pressure. When he surfaced, the support boat was already leaving. Drake watched 7 men die and didn't call for rescue until he was sure there were no survivors to testify. Except Garrett lived, and Owen spent 35 years proving what really happened. The financial documents show the pattern continuing: Pacific Crest Logistics, smuggling operations, port access, defense contracts awarded through Drake's Armed Services Committee connections, billions of dollars moving through shell companies, all leading back to the Drake family trust. Jack photographs everything with his phone, every document, every connection. If Owen died protecting this evidence, then it needs to exist in multiple places. Insurance against the people who want it buried. Daniel is at the window keeping watch. His voice is tight. "Sir, we've got company." Jack moves to the window. Down below, a black SUV has pulled up to the lighthouse gate. 3 men get out. Tactical gear. Professional, not local law enforcement. These are contractors, security, the kind of men who get paid to make problems disappear. And they're coming straight for the lighthouse. Jack's mind shifts into combat mode. Assessment, 3 hostiles, unknown weapons, limited exits, high ground advantage. The lantern room has a narrow staircase, easily defended, but also easily trapped if they bring enough firepower. "We need to move now." They gather what they can carry. Jack stuffs documents into his jacket. Daniel grabs files. Behind them, they hear the cottage door crash open, voices, orders being shouted. The stairs down are the only way out. Jack goes first, Sig Sauer drawn, moving fast but controlled. They're halfway down when the first contractor rounds the corner below. For a moment, everyone freezes. Then training takes over. Jack fires twice, center mass dropping the man before he can raise his weapon. The sound is deafening in the enclosed space. Daniel moves past him, heading for the door, covering their retreat. 2 more contractors appear. Gunfire erupts. Jack feels something hot punch through his shoulder, spinning him around. He fires back, hitting one man in the leg, forcing them to take cover. Daniel drags him outside. Blood is spreading across Jack's jacket, warm and sticky. His shoulder is on fire, every movement a fresh wave of pain, but he's still moving, still fighting. 30 years of training doesn't let you quit just because you're hurt. They make it to the truck. Jack tosses Daniel the keys. Drive. Daniel doesn't argue. The engine roars to life. Gravel sprays as they peel out, heading back down the access road. In the rearview mirror, Jack sees the contractors emerge from the lighthouse, weapons raised, but not firing. They're professionals. They know better than to waste ammunition on a moving target at this distance. The adrenaline is wearing off now, replaced by pain and the cold clarity of understanding. Drake knows they found the evidence. Drake knows Jack is coming for him. And Drake just sent killers to a lighthouse to silence witnesses. This is war now, the kind with no rules and no quarter given. Daniel's voice cuts through the haze of pain. Hospital? No, they'll be watching hospitals. Drive to Portland. I need to find Sarah. You're bleeding bad, sir. I've had worse. It's not a lie. He's been shot before. 3 times, twice in Grenada, once in Iraq. You learn to function through pain. You learn that stopping means dying, so you keep moving. The drive to Portland takes 2 hours. Jack uses the time to field dress his wound, packing it with gauze from Daniel's first aid kit, wrapping it tight enough to slow the bleeding. The bullet went through clean, no bone damage. He'll need stitches, antibiotics, proper care. But that can wait. Sarah works at the Portland Tribune. investigative journalist, won awards, made enemies, just like her mother. Maria was a reporter too, back when they were married, back when Jack was still active duty and gone more than he was home. That's what killed their marriage. Not infidelity, not abuse, just absence. Just the slow erosion of connection when one person chooses duty over presence again and again until there's nothing left to choose. Sarah never forgave him for that, for missing her childhood, for missing her wedding, for being at some classified location doing classified things, while his daughter needed a father and got an empty chair instead. Can't blame her. He doesn't forgive himself either. The Tribune building is downtown, glass and steel, modern and sterile. Jack's covered in blood and dirt and looks like exactly what he is, a man who just survived a firefight. Security won't let him through the front door. Daniel stays with his truck while Jack circles to the loading dock. Journalists come and go through the back, avoiding lobby cameras and corporate oversight. He waits in the shadows until he sees her. Sarah Martinez, 32 years old, carrying a messenger bag and coffee from the shop across the street. Dark hair pulled back. Her mother's eyes, Jack's stubborn chin. She's absorbed in her phone, not paying attention to her surroundings, and that makes his chest tight with fear because if Drake's people are watching, she's an easy target. He steps out of the shadows. Sarah. She looks up. Her expression goes from confusion to recognition to anger in the space of a heartbeat. What the hell are you doing here? Her voice is cold, controlled, the voice of someone who's had 3 years to practice not caring. We need to talk. It's about Owen. Owen's dead, I heard. I sent flowers to Elena. I'm going to the funeral. That doesn't mean we have anything to talk about. She starts to walk past him. Jack moves to block her path. Not threatening, just present. He was murdered and you're in danger. That stops her. She looks at him properly now, seeing the blood, the way he's favoring his left arm, the haunted look in his eyes that comes from watching people you love die, and knowing you're next. You're bleeding. I'm fine. Her reporter instincts kick in. She's assessing him, reading body language, looking for the story beneath the words. Come inside. Let me look at that. Not here. Too exposed. Is there somewhere we can talk? Somewhere private? She hesitates. 3 years of keeping him at arm's length. 3 years of building walls. But underneath the anger is something else. Curiosity. And maybe, just maybe, a sliver of the girl who used to think her father was a hero. My apartment, 20 minutes. She gives him the address. They take separate routes, Sarah in her Honda, Jack and Daniel in the truck. The apartment is in a converted warehouse in the Pearl District. Nice neighborhood. Safe. For now. Inside, it's small but comfortable. Photos on the walls. Sarah graduating from journalism school. Sarah receiving an award. And there, on the mantel, a framed picture of a little girl with dark eyes and a gap-toothed smile. Nina, Jack's granddaughter, the child he's never met. Sarah sees him looking. Don't! Just one word. But it carries the weight of all the time he lost. All the moments he wasn't there for, birthday parties, school plays, bedtime stories. An entire childhood lived without him. She's beautiful. She's mine. And you don't get to have an opinion about her. The words sting because they're true. He gave up that right 15 years ago when he chose another deployment over walking his daughter down the aisle. Sarah grabs a first aid kit from the bathroom. Her movements are efficient, practiced. She cuts away his jacket, examines the wound. Her hands are gentle, but her face is hard. This needs stitches. I know. You should go to a hospital. Can't. They're watching hospitals. Who's they? Jack tells her everything. Owen's message, the lighthouse, Drake, Pacific Crest Logistics, the 35-year conspiracy that got 7 SEALs killed and is still running. Sarah's face doesn't change. She listens like a journalist, taking it all in, processing, connecting dots. When he finishes, she sits back. I've been investigating Pacific Crest for 8 months. I'm close to something. Ownership structure, shell companies, money laundering. But I couldn't connect it to anyone specific. It connects to Drake. He owns it through his family trust. And if you're close to exposing that, you're a target. She stands, paces the small living room. Her mind is working, the same way Jack's does, running scenarios, assessing threats. I have a daughter. I can't just disappear into witness protection or whatever you're suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you facts. Drake has killed everyone who gets close to the truth. Owen spent 35 years collecting evidence and died for it. Now you're investigating the same thing. That makes you a loose end. And what are you, my bodyguard? The bitterness in her voice is earned. Jack doesn't flinch from it. I'm your father, and I failed you for 30 years. I'm not failing you now. The words hang in the air between them. Outside, Portland traffic hums. Inside, two people who share blood and history and nothing else try to figure out if there's any bridge left unburned. Sarah's phone rings. She answers, her face going pale as she listens. When? She hangs up, looks at Jack with fear bleeding through her anger. That was Nina's school. Someone tried to pick her up, said they were family, but they weren't on the authorized list. Security stopped them. Police are there now. Jack's already moving. Where is she? Still at school, they have her in the office. Then we go get her, now. Sarah grabs her keys. They're out the door in seconds, Daniel following. The drive to the school takes 15 minutes that feel like 15 hours. Jack's shoulder is screaming, but he ignores it. Focus on the mission. Get Nina. Get them both somewhere safe. Figure out the rest after. At the school, police are taking statements. The principal recognizes Sarah, brings her to the office where Nina is sitting with a counselor, looking scared but unharmed. 9 years old with her mother's eyes and that same stubborn chin. Sarah hugs her daughter tight. Nina sees Jack over her mother's shoulder. Who's that? Sarah pulls back, wipes tears, tries to find words. This is your grandfather. My father. Nina looks at him with open curiosity. No judgment. Just a child's simple assessment. You look like a soldier. Jack manages something like a smile. I was a long time ago. Did you fight bad guys? Something like that. The principal interrupts. She's nervous, looking between Sarah and the police officers. Miss Martinez, the men who tried to take Nina had credentials. They said they were with Child Protective Services. But when we called to verify, CPS had no record of any case involving your family. Sarah's face goes white. She looks at Jack. He reads the message in her eyes. This is real. Drake isn't just coming for me. He's coming for Nina. Jack speaks quietly to the principal. We need to leave now. Is there a back exit? The principal nods, still confused but sensing the urgency. She leads them through the staff hallway to a rear door that opens onto the faculty parking lot. They pile into Sarah's Honda, Jack in the passenger seat, Daniel following in the truck. Where are we going? Back to Coldwater. It's my jurisdiction. I can protect you there. Sarah drives, hands tight on the wheel. In the back seat, Nina is quiet, sensing something big is happening but not understanding what. Kids are resilient like that. They adapt. They trust their parents to handle things. Jack hopes he can be worth that trust. His phone buzzes. Text message. Unknown number again. You can't protect them. Give us the evidence and walk away. Last chance. Jack deletes it without responding. The time for negotiations ended when they sent men to take a 9-year-old girl. Now it's just a question of who moves first and who moves last. The drive back to Coldwater Bay takes 3 hours. The sun is setting by the time they arrive, painting the ocean in shades of gold and red, beautiful and indifferent. Jack directs Sarah to a motel on the edge of town, the kind of place that doesn't ask questions if you pay cash. 2 rooms, connecting door. Daniel posts up in the parking lot, keeping watch. Inside, Nina explores with a child's energy, jumping on the beds, checking the TV channels. Sarah pulls Jack into the bathroom, closes the door. You need to tell me everything, all of it. No soldier stoic bullshit. If my daughter is in danger, I need to know why. So Jack tells her. About Vietnam, about Owen saving his life, about the SEAL team that died in 1987, about spending 30 years in service and coming home to find his marriage destroyed, and his daughter grown and gone, about 5 years of trying to drink away the guilt, about Owen being the only person who never gave up on him, and about the evidence, the proof that a United States senator ordered the murder of 7 Navy SEALs and has been running cartel operations for 35 years. Sarah listens. When he finishes, she's quiet for a long moment. You really think we can take him down? He's got the entire system protecting him. Owen thought so. He spent his life building a case. Now we finish it. And if we can't, then we die trying. Because the alternative is letting Drake win, letting him kill more people. Letting 7 good men stay unavenged. I can't do that. Sarah looks at him. Really looks at him. Maybe seeing him clearly for the first time in 15 years. You're still the same. Still choosing the mission over everything else. Jack shakes his head. No, this time the mission is keeping you safe. You and Nina. That's all that matters. Something shifts in Sarah's expression. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe understanding, maybe the first crack in the wall. She opens the bathroom door. Nina is on the bed, drawing in a notebook she pulled from her backpack. She looks up. "Mom, are we in trouble?" Sarah sits beside her daughter, brushes hair from her face. "We're gonna be okay, baby. Grandpa Jack is gonna make sure of that." Nina looks at Jack with those serious eyes. "Promise?" Jack doesn't make promises he can't keep, but looking at this 9-year-old girl, his granddaughter, the future he didn't think he deserved, he finds himself saying it anyway. "I promise." Outside, night falls over Coldwater Bay. In the motel parking lot, Daniel Reeves keeps watch, scanning for threats. In the room, Sarah helps Nina get ready for bed, maintaining normalcy in a situation that is anything but normal. And Jack stands at the window, looking out at the darkness, thinking about Owen's last message. "Don't quit on me, sailor." He won't. Whatever comes next, whoever Drake sends, whatever it takes to protect his family and finish what Owen started, Jack Holden is done running, done hiding, done letting good people die while bad people prosper. The war is here. And this time, he's fighting for something that matters more than duty or honor or any of the things that consumed his life for 30 years. He's fighting for family, for Sarah, for Nina, for Owen's memory, for 7 SEALs who never got justice. The lighthouse holds the evidence, the proof that will bring down a senator and expose a conspiracy 35 years in the making. Tomorrow, they'll go back. Tomorrow, they'll gather everything Owen left behind. Tomorrow, they'll start the fight. But tonight, for the first time in longer than he can remember, Jack has something worth fighting for. Something worth living for. Something worth dying for, if it comes to that. Tomorrow, the real battle begins. Tonight, he keeps watch. Dawn comes cold and gray over Coldwater Bay. Jack hasn't slept. He spent the night in a chair by the motel room window, Sig Sauer within reach, watching the parking lot for threats that never materialized. His shoulder throbs with each heartbeat, the field dressing soaked through with blood and fluid. He needs proper medical attention, antibiotics at minimum. But hospitals mean records, and records mean Drake's people will know exactly where to find them. So he sits, he watches, he waits. Across the room, Sarah sleeps on one bed, Nina curled against her like she used to do as a toddler during thunderstorms. Even in sleep, Sarah's arm is wrapped protectively around her daughter. Maternal instinct doesn't rest. It stays vigilant even when consciousness fades. Jack understands that now, in a way he never did 30 years ago, when he was the one leaving for deployments, and Maria was the one staying behind to raise their daughter alone. You can't understand the weight of protecting a child until you watch them sleep and realize how fragile they are, how easily the world can destroy something so precious. His phone vibrates. Text from Daniel Reeves. All quiet, no movement. Shift change at 0600. Jack types back with his good hand. Affirmative. Get coffee. You've earned it. 3 dots appear, then disappear, then appear again. Finally, a message. Sir, I've been thinking. Captain Blackwell mentioned a name in his old files. Thomas Garrett, the survivor from 1987. He still lives in Portland, works at the VA hospital. Maybe he knows something. Jack's pulse quickens. Thomas Garrett, the only SEAL who survived the explosion that killed 7 men. The only witness to what really happened that day. Owen mentioned him in passing over the years, always with a tone of regret. Said Thomas carried guilt that wasn't his to carry. Said the man had nightmares that never stopped. If anyone can corroborate Owen's investigation, it's Thomas Garrett. Jack responds. Good work. Get his address. We'll pay him a visit after we secure the lighthouse evidence. He sets the phone down and stands slowly, joints protesting. 58 years old, and he feels every one of them this morning. The bullet wound, the sleepless night, the accumulated damage of 3 decades doing things the human body wasn't designed to do. But SEALs don't quit because they're tired. They quit when they're dead. Sarah stirs, opens her eyes. For a moment, she seems disoriented, not recognizing where she is. Then memory floods back and her expression hardens. Any trouble? Jack shakes his head. Quiet night. Daniel's been watching. No movement. She carefully extracts herself from Nina's embrace and joins him at the window. Outside, the sky is lightening to pale gray. Fishing boats are heading out to sea, their running lights small stars against the dark water. Coldwater Bay going about its morning routine, unaware that somewhere in this small town, evidence exists that could bring down a senator and expose decades of corruption. We need to talk about what happens next. Sarah's voice is low, controlled, the journalist in her asserting itself. She needs information, context, a plan. Jack gestures toward the small table by the kitchenette. They sit across from each other, the way they used to at Rita's diner when Sarah was 16 and would come meet him during his rare leaves home. Before the wedding he missed, before the silence calcified into something permanent. The evidence Owen collected is at Point Morrison. We need to retrieve it, all of it. Photograph everything, create backups, then we take it to the FBI. Sarah's expression is skeptical. You think the FBI will help? Drake's been operating for 35 years. How many federal agents has he bought or intimidated in that time? Doesn't matter. We go through proper channels first. If that fails, we go to the media, your contacts, major outlets, make it too big to bury. And in the meantime, Drake sends more people to kill us, to take Nina. The fear in her voice is raw, not for herself, for her daughter. That's the leverage Drake understands. Everyone has something they'll sacrifice everything to protect. Jack leans forward. That's why we move fast. Today, we get the evidence. We get it to multiple secure locations. We make copies and distribute them so thoroughly that killing us becomes pointless. Dead man switches, cloud storage, encrypted emails to journalists set to send if we don't check in every 12 hours. Sarah processes this. Her mind is working through scenarios, through contingencies. She's good at this, always has been. Even as a teenager, she could take complex problems and break them into solvable pieces. What about Nina? I can't bring her to a lighthouse where people with guns might show up. Daniel's sister lives in Coldwater. School teacher, good woman. Nina can stay there today. Supervised, safe. And if Drake's people find out? They won't. Daniel will arrange it quietly. No digital trail, no phone calls. In person only. Sarah looks at her sleeping daughter. The calculation happening behind her eyes is painful to watch. Trust versus risk, hope versus fear, the impossible mathematics of parenthood. Okay, but if anything happens to her because of this, because of you and your wars and your duty, I will never forgive you. Do you understand that? The words are a knife, clean and sharp and deserved. I understand. They sit in silence for a moment. Outside, the world continues its indifferent rotation. Inside, two people who share blood and history and very little else try to find common ground in the wreckage of their relationship. Nina wakes with the suddenness of children, going from deep sleep to full consciousness in seconds. She sits up, looks around, processes where she is. Are we still in trouble? Sarah goes to her, smooths her hair. We're figuring things out, baby. But today, you're going to stay with Mr. Reeves' sister. She's a teacher. Very nice. You'll be safe there. Nina looks at Jack. Are you going to fight the bad guys? Jack doesn't know how to answer that. How do you explain to a 9-year-old that sometimes fighting means shooting people? That sometimes keeping her safe means doing things that would give her nightmares if she knew the details? I'm going to keep you and your mom safe. That's a promise. Nina nods, satisfied with this answer in the way only children can be. Adults overthink. Kids trust or they don't. Right now, for reasons Jack doesn't fully understand, Nina trusts him. He'll die before he betrays that trust. Daniel arrives at 7 with coffee and breakfast sandwiches from the diner. His sister Claire comes with him, mid-30s, warm smile, the kind of person who chose teaching because she genuinely loves kids. Nina takes to her immediately, chatting about her favorite subjects and whether Claire's classroom has a reading corner. Sarah watches them leave, her hand pressed against the motel room window, like she can hold Nina close through glass and distance and faith alone. Jack recognizes that look. Maria used to wear it every time he deployed. The look of a parent watching their child go somewhere they can't follow. The look of love mixed with terror. She'll be safe. Claire lives in a quiet neighborhood. No one knows about the connection, and Daniel will check on them every hour. Sarah doesn't respond, just keeps watching until Claire's car disappears around the corner. Then she turns to Jack, and her expression is pure steel. Let's go get this bastard. The drive to Point Morrison takes 30 minutes. Jack lets Daniel drive so he can rest his shoulder and save strength for what's coming. The pain is constant now, a deep ache that radiates down his arm and across his back. Infection is setting in. He can feel the heat, the way his skin is tight and angry around the wound. He'll deal with it later, after the mission. SEALs learn to compartmentalize pain, put it in a box, seal it away, function despite it. They park a quarter-mile from the lighthouse and approach on foot through the tree line. Jack moves point, Daniel covering their six, Sarah in the middle. She's not trained for this kind of movement, but she follows his hand signals, stays quiet, keeps low. Reporter instincts serving her well. Stay small, stay invisible, get the story. The lighthouse looks abandoned. No vehicles, no signs of activity. But Jack doesn't trust appearances. He signals Daniel to circle around the south side, while he and Sarah approach from the north. The cottage door is still hanging loose from yesterday's firefight. Bloodstains mark the floor where Jack shot the first contractor. The body is gone, but the violence remains, soaked into old wood. They move up the stairs to the lantern room. Owen's investigation is still there. All of it, photographs, documents, the red string connecting decades of conspiracy. But something's wrong. Jack sees it immediately. Things have been moved, not much. Just enough to tell him someone's been here since yesterday. He motions Sarah to stay back, then does a full sweep of the room. No explosives, no surveillance devices. Just evidence that someone came, looked, and left. Why didn't they take it? Sarah's question is valid. If Drake's people know the evidence is here, why leave it? Jack's examining the documents more closely now. He picks up a financial ledger, notes that several pages are missing. Torn out cleanly. Precise. They took the most damaging stuff, left the rest to make it look like we still have something. This is a trap. Sarah processes this. They want us to think we have the evidence, want us to feel confident enough to move against Drake. Then they spring whatever they're planning. Jack nods. It's a good strategy. Let your enemy think they're winning, let them commit, then crush them when they're exposed and overconfident. But two can play that game. We photograph everything anyway. What they left behind is still useful. And we search for what Owen really hid. What do you mean? Owen was a SEAL. He wouldn't put all his evidence in one obvious location. This is the decoy. The real proof is somewhere else. They spend the next hour documenting everything in the lantern room. Sarah's journalist training shows. She's methodical, photographing from multiple angles, making sure every document is readable, creating redundancy. Jack searches the rest of the lighthouse, tapping walls for hollow spaces, checking for loose floorboards, looking for the hiding place only Owen would create. He finds it in the basement, the old fuel storage room where kerosene was kept to power the light before electrification. The floor is concrete, cracked with age, but one section sounds different when Jack taps it. Hollow. He signals Daniel, who brings a crowbar from their gear. Together, they pry up the concrete section. It's fake, lightweight composite designed to look like stone. Underneath is a waterproof container, military grade, the kind that can survive depth charges and fire. Jack opens it. Inside are the real documents. Original transcripts from the 1987 investigation. Witness statements from Thomas Garrett that were excluded from the official report. Photographs of Drake meeting with cartel members, dates stamped and authenticated, financial records showing millions of dollars moving through Pacific Crest Logistics, and video recordings, dozens of them, on digital drives labeled by year. This is it. This is what Owen died protecting. Sarah photographs everything while Jack loads the container into a duffel bag. They're moving fast now, aware that they've been in one location too long, aware that Drake's people might return, aware that every minute increases the risk. They're heading back down the access road when Daniel's radio crackles. Multiple vehicles approaching from the highway, 3 SUVs, moving fast. Jack's already turning the truck around, heading for an old logging road he spotted on the way in. The truck bounces over ruts and exposed roots. Behind them, they can hear engines. Pursuit. Sarah braces herself against the dashboard. How did they know we were here? Jack's running scenarios. Either they were watching from a distance, or they put a tracker on the truck, or they have surveillance he missed. Doesn't matter, we've got the evidence. Now we just need to get clear. The logging road dead ends at a collapsed bridge. The creek below is shallow, maybe 3 feet deep. Jack doesn't slow down. He guns the engine, crashes through the rotted guardrail, and plunges down the embankment into the water. The impact is violent. Sarah's head snaps forward, saved from the dash by her seatbelt. Daniel is thrown against the back seat. But the truck keeps moving, tires finding purchase on the creek bed, engine roaring as they climb the opposite bank and disappear into dense forest. Behind them, the SUVs stop at the collapsed bridge. Through the rearview mirror, Jack sees men getting out. Professionals, they're not pursuing on foot. They know the terrain advantage belongs to Jack now. They'll regroup, set up roadblocks, call in more resources. But for the moment, Jack has the evidence and his family is still breathing. That counts as a win. They emerge from the forest onto a state highway 15 miles north of Coldwater. Jack heads toward Portland, keeping to back roads, avoiding cameras and main routes. His shoulder is screaming now. Every bump in the road sends fresh waves of pain through his body. He's lightheaded, dizzy. The infection is spreading. Sarah sees it. You need a hospital. Can't risk it. Then where? Jack's already made the decision. Thomas Garrett, he works at the VA hospital. He can help. The Portland VA Medical Center is a sprawling complex on the east side of the river. Daniel makes calls while they drive, using his Coast Guard credentials to get Garrett's schedule. The man is an administrator now, works in patient advocacy, helps veterans navigate the bureaucracy of benefits and care. They find him in his office on the third floor. Late 50s, gray hair, tired eyes. When he sees Jack, his expression goes through a series of rapid shifts. Confusion, recognition, fear. You're Owen's man, Jack Holden, is not a question. Thomas Garrett has been waiting for this visit for 35 years. We need to talk, somewhere private. Garrett looks at Sarah, at Daniel in his Coast Guard uniform. He's calculating risk, weighing options. Then he sees the blood soaking through Jack's jacket, and something in his expression softens. Come with me. He leads them through a maze of corridors to a supply room in the basement. Old medical equipment, storage. The kind of place where conversations can happen without witnesses. Garrett locks the door and turns to face them. Owen's dead, isn't he? Jack nods. Murdered. Made to look like an accident. Drake's people. Garrett closes his eyes. When he opens them, tears are streaming down his face. I knew this would happen. I told Owen to let it go. Told him for 30 years. But he couldn't. Wouldn't. Said 7 men died and someone had to speak for them. Jack pulls out his phone, shows Garrett photos of the evidence. Owen collected proof. We have it, but we need your testimony. You're the only survivor, the only witness. Garrett is shaking his head before Jack finishes speaking. No, I can't. You don't understand what Drake did, what he threatened. Tell me. Garrett sits heavily on a crate. The weight of decades is visible on his shoulders. I was 24 years old. Underwater when the charges exploded. The blast pressure should have killed me, but I was deep enough that the water absorbed most of the force. I surfaced to see our support boat leaving. Drake was on that boat. I could see him. He was watching, just watching. I treaded water for 6 hours before a fishing boat found me. By then, the official story was already set. Equipment malfunction, tragic accident. I was the lucky survivor. Drake came to see me in the hospital, brought flowers, brought sympathy, and he brought a threat. He told me if I said anything about what really happened, if I testified that the explosives were wrong, that the boat left us to die, then my wife would have an accident. My unborn son would never meet his father. Did I understand? I was 24. I had a pregnant wife. I was terrified. So I lied. In the official report, I said it was equipment failure. I said Drake did everything possible to save us. I said 7 good men died because of bad luck and faulty gear. And I've been lying ever since. Sarah is recording this on her phone. Garrett sees it but doesn't object. Maybe he's tired of lying. Maybe Owen's death finally broke something inside him that was already cracked. Jack's voice is quiet, but carries the weight of command. Then stop lying. Testify. For Owen. For the 7 men who didn't make it. For every person Drake has killed in 35 years of covering this up. Garrett looks up. He'll kill me. He's killed everyone else. Maybe. Or maybe we take him down first. We have evidence, we have witnesses, we have a case. But we need you. Without a survivor's testimony, Drake's lawyers will bury us in reasonable doubt. Sarah steps forward. I'm a journalist. I'll make sure your story gets told. If Drake tries anything, the whole country will know why. That's protection better than any safe house. Garrett is silent for a long moment. Outside the supply room, the hospital continues its daily rhythm. Patients being cared for, veterans finding help, the system working the way it's supposed to. Inside this room, a man is deciding whether to finally tell the truth or keep living with ghosts. I'll testify. But I need protection. For me, for my family. Drake's reach goes deep. Daniel speaks up. I can arrange that. Coast Guard has safe houses. Federal protection. We'll keep you secure. Garrett nods slowly. Okay, what do you need me to do? Jack needs medical attention first. His shoulder is infected. Fever is spiking. Garrett, with access to medical supplies, sets up a makeshift treatment room. He cleans the wound, administers antibiotics, stitches the entry and exit points with the efficiency of someone who's done field medicine before. You were a corpsman. Garrett doesn't look up from his work. Before I became a SEAL, old skills never fade. The pain of the stitching is sharp and immediate. Jack doesn't make a sound, just watches Garrett work, seeing in the man's hands the ghost of the young medic who tried to save his teammates 35 years ago. I'm sorry. Garrett pauses. For what? For not being there. I was supposed to be on that dive. Owen pulled me for a different op. I should have died with our team. Garrett ties off the last stitch. Owen saved your life. Saved mine too, in a way. If you'd been there, you'd have been in the kill zone. You'd be dead with the others. Owen knew something was wrong. That's why he pulled you. You think he knew? Garrett meets his eyes. Owen always knew. He spent his whole life knowing things nobody else saw. That's what made him a great SEAL. And that's what got him killed. They spend the next 2 hours documenting Garrett's testimony. Sarah interviews him with professional precision, drawing out details, asking follow-up questions, building a narrative that's airtight and compelling. Daniel films it on his phone, making sure they have video evidence. Garrett describes the moments before the explosion, the way the demolitions felt wrong in his hands, lighter than they should be. Different chemical smell. He raised concerns to Drake, was told to follow orders. He describes the blast, the pressure wave, the confusion, surfacing to see pieces of his teammates floating on the water, blood and oil mixing into a slick that spread across the ocean like an accusation. He describes watching the support boat motor away, Drake standing on the deck, making no move to help, no radio calls for rescue, just watching 7 men die and 1 man struggle to stay afloat. And he describes the threat. Drake in the hospital room, flowers in one hand, implied violence in the other. The choice that wasn't really a choice. Lie or lose everything. By the time Garrett finishes, they have a complete record. Video, audio, written transcript, everything they need to build a case that can't be dismissed or buried. Sarah backs up the files to 3 different cloud services, sends copies to trusted colleagues with instructions to publish if she doesn't check in, creates dead man switches that will automatically release everything in 48 hours unless she disarms them. Insurance. Because Drake's next move will be to silence everyone who knows the truth. They're preparing to leave when Garrett's phone rings. He answers, his expression changing from calm to alarmed in seconds. When? He hangs up. Looks at Jack with fear bleeding through his composure. That was my wife. 2 men just came to our house. Said they were with the VA, needed to verify my employment records. She didn't let them in, but they're still outside. Watching. Jack's already moving. Address now. The Garrett family lives in a quiet neighborhood in Beaverton. Modest house, good schools, the American dream wrapped in vinyl siding and a mortgage. Jack, Daniel, and Sarah arrive to find a black SUV parked across the street. 2 men inside, professional surveillance. Jack pulls past without slowing, parks around the corner. Sarah stays in the truck. Daniel takes the back approach. Jack walks up to the SUV like he belongs there. Confident, casual, just a neighbor out for a morning walk. The passenger window rolls down. The man inside is mid-30s, crew cut, the military bearing that never quite goes away. Help you? Jack leans in close. Yeah, you can help by leaving. This is a quiet neighborhood. Families live here. You're scaring people. The man smiles. No humor in it. We're just sitting. Public street. No law against that. Jack's hand moves faster than the man can react. He grabs the man's collar, yanks him halfway out the window, and puts his Sig Sauer against the man's temple. The driver reaches for his weapon. Daniel appears at the driver's side window, his own gun drawn. Don't. For 10 seconds, nobody moves. Then Jack speaks, his voice quiet and cold and absolutely certain. You're going to call your boss. Tell him Jack Holden says to back off. Tell him we have everything. Owen's files, Garrett's testimony, video evidence. It's already distributed, already backed up. Killing us doesn't bury it, it just guarantees it goes public. The man in Jack's grip is trying to stay calm, but his pulse is hammering against Jack's hand. Drake doesn't negotiate. Then Drake's going to prison. Your choice is whether you go with him. Conspiracy to commit murder, witness intimidation. Federal charges, 20 years minimum. I'm just doing a job. So were the Nazis at Nuremberg. Didn't save them. Jack releases him, steps back. The man slumps back into his seat, rubbing his throat. Get out of here, don't come back. Next time I won't be polite. The SUV starts, drives away. But Jack knows they'll be back. Drake doesn't give up. He adapts, he escalates. They collect Garrett and his wife, a quiet woman named Linda who looks terrified but determined. No kids at home, thank God. Their son is grown, living in Seattle. Safer if Drake doesn't have multiple targets. Daniel arranges transport to a Coast Guard facility north of Portland. Federal property, federal protection. Garrett and Linda will be safe there until they can testify. Before they leave, Garrett pulls Jack aside. Owen talked about you. Said you were the best SEAL he ever trained. Said you had a gift for seeing what needed to be done and doing it without hesitation. Jack doesn't respond. Compliments from beyond the grave feel like accusations. Garrett continues. He also said you were lost, that you chose duty over family so many times you forgot how to be human. Said he hoped you'd find your way back before it was too late. Jack looks at Sarah, sitting in the truck with her arms wrapped around herself, trying to hold together under pressure that would break most people. I'm trying. Owen would be proud. Not just of the mission, of you trying. Garrett and Linda drive away with Daniel. Jack returns to the truck where Sarah is waiting. Her expression is unreadable. What now? Now we take all this evidence and we find someone in law enforcement we can trust. Someone Drake doesn't own. And if no one like that exists, then we go to the media. Your colleagues, major outlets. Make it too big to ignore. Sarah is quiet for a moment. Then she asks the question that's been hanging between them since yesterday. Why are you doing this? Really? You spent 30 years choosing duty over family, over me, over mom. Why is this different? Jack doesn't have a good answer. Or maybe he has too many answers and none of them feel adequate. Because Owen asked me to protect you. Because 7 good men died and nobody paid for it. Because I've spent my whole life fighting for things that didn't matter as much as I pretended they did. And because maybe, if I finish this, I can look at myself in the mirror again. That's a lot of reasons. Take your pick, they're all true. Sarah nods. Not forgiveness, but understanding. Maybe that's enough for now. They drive back to Coldwater Bay in silence. The evidence is secure. Garrett is protected. They've made progress. But Jack knows the hardest part is coming. Drake isn't going to let this stand. He's been protected by power and money and political connections for 35 years. He won't go down without a fight. And when powerful men fight, they don't follow rules. At the motel, Clara has returned with Nina. The girl is excited, talking about the books in Claire's classroom and the art project they worked on. Normal things, kid things. A brief pocket of innocence in a situation that is anything but innocent. Sarah holds her daughter like she's afraid Nina will disappear if she lets go. That night, they order pizza and eat in the motel room. Nina tells stories about school. Sarah laughs at her daughter's jokes. Daniel checks his phone every 5 minutes, monitoring for threats. And Jack sits in his chair by the window, watching the parking lot, watching his family, feeling something he hasn't felt in decades. Purpose that isn't about killing. Purpose that's about protecting, about building instead of destroying. Around 9, Nina falls asleep on the bed. Sarah covers her with a blanket, then joins Jack at the window. Thank you. For what? For today, for keeping her safe, for trying. It's not over yet. I know, but still, thank you. They stand side by side, looking out at the quiet street. Somewhere out there, Drake is planning his next move. Somewhere out there, men with guns and orders are preparing to finish what they started. But here, in this motel room for this moment, Jack's daughter and granddaughter are safe. That counts for something. His phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. When he opens it, his blood goes cold. The message is a photo. Sarah's apartment in Portland. The door kicked in. Furniture overturned. And spray painted on the wall in red letters, "You can't hide." Sarah sees it over his shoulder. Her hand goes to her mouth. They trashed my home. Jack deletes the photo. Home is where your daughter is. Everything else is just stuff. But the message is clear. Drake knows where they live. Where they work, where they go. He's sending a signal. You can run, but I'll find you. Jack doesn't plan to run. He plans to stand and fight, plans to use Owen's evidence to tear Drake's world apart, plans to make sure 7 dead SEALs finally get justice. But first, he needs to keep his family alive long enough to make that happen. Outside, the Oregon night presses against the windows, cold and dark and full of threats they can't see yet. But morning will come. It always does. And when it does, the real war begins. The FBI field office in Portland sits in a nondescript building downtown, designed to blend in with corporate offices and law firms. Nothing about it screams federal law enforcement. That's intentional. The Bureau learned decades ago that visibility invites attacks. Better to hide in plain sight. Jack walks through the front doors at 8 in the morning carrying a duffel bag that contains enough evidence to destroy a United States senator. Sarah is beside him, journalist instincts on high alert. Daniel follows in uniform, lending official weight to their appearance. Nina stayed with Claire, protected by 2 of Daniel's Coast Guard buddies who owe him favors and don't ask questions. The receptionist is professionally pleasant until Jack asks for the special agent in charge. Then her expression shifts to bureaucratic skepticism. Do you have an appointment? Jack sets the duffel on her desk. The weight of it makes a solid thunk. Tell Agent Brooks that Jack Holden has evidence of a 35-year conspiracy involving murder, drug trafficking, and corruption at the highest levels of government. Tell her if she doesn't see us in the next 10 minutes, we're going to CNN. The receptionist's eyes widen. She picks up her phone, speaks quietly, then hangs up. Someone will be right down. 3 minutes later, a woman in her mid-40s appears. Dark suit, sharp eyes, the kind of presence that comes from 20 years of staring down liars and extracting truth. Special Agent Sarah Brooks. Jack did his homework. She transferred to Portland 6 months ago from the Boston office. Clean record. No obvious connections to Drake. As close to trustworthy as he's going to find in federal law enforcement. Mr. Holden, I understand you have information for us. Jack doesn't move. Is this office secure? No recording devices? No one listening? Brooks' expression doesn't change, but something flickers in her eyes. Interest, maybe respect. Follow me. She leads them through security, past cubicles where junior agents work fraud cases and white-collar crimes, into a SGIF. Sensitive, compartmented information facility, soundproof, signal-proof. The kind of room where secrets can be spoken without fear of electronic ears. Brooks closes the door, sits, folds her hands on the table between them. You have my attention. Jack opens the duffel, pulls out the first stack of documents. Captain Owen Blackwell was murdered 6 days ago. Official story says accidental drowning. Truth is he was killed because he spent 35 years investigating Senator Raymond Drake for the murder of 7 Navy SEALs in 1987. Brooks' expression doesn't change, but her posture shifts. Subtle. The body language of someone who just heard something that connects to cases she's already working. Go on. For the next hour, Jack lays it out. The 1987 training accident that wasn't an accident. The faulty explosives. Drake's connection to cartel operations in Southeast Asia. Thomas Garrett's suppressed testimony. Owen's decades of documentation. Pacific Crest Logistics. The shell companies. The billions in drug money laundered through legitimate shipping operations. Sarah provides the financial analysis. Following money trails through corporate structures so complex they're designed to confuse. But Sarah's good at her job. She traces it all back to Drake Family Trust. Daniel presents the Coast Guard angle. Suspicious shipping manifests. Vessels that should have been searched but weren't. Port inspections that were canceled at the last minute. All of it pointing to someone with serious federal influence running interference. Brooks listens without interrupting, takes notes, asks pointed questions that reveal she's not just humoring them. She's evaluating evidence with the eye of a prosecutor building a case. When they finish, she sits back. This is substantial. If even half of it holds up, we're looking at RICO charges. Multiple counts of murder, conspiracy. But you understand what you're accusing? Raymond Drake has been in the Senate for 20 years. He chairs armed services. He has friends in justice, in Homeland Security, in the Bureau itself. Jack leans forward. I know exactly what I'm accusing. And I know Drake has spent 35 years making sure people like you can't touch him. That's why Owen's dead. That's why 6 other people who got close to the truth are dead. That's why we're here instead of going through normal channels. Because normal channels are compromised. Brooke studies him. Then she makes a decision. Jack can see it in her eyes. The moment when a federal agent stops following protocol and starts following conscience. I'll need to verify this. Interview Garrett. Review the financial records. Build a case that will survive legal challenges. That takes time. How much time? Weeks, maybe months. Sarah speaks up, her voice hard. We don't have months. Drake already knows we have this evidence. He's already sent people after us. After my daughter. If we sit around waiting for federal bureaucracy, we'll be dead before you file your first motion. Brooks doesn't flinch. Then we put you in protective custody. Safe house, federal marshals, complete security until trial. Jack shakes his head. Drake has people inside federal agencies. You said it yourself, we go into your system, we're sitting ducks. Our only protection is making this so public that killing us becomes pointless. What are you suggesting? Sarah pulls out her phone. I'm suggesting I publish. Tomorrow. Front page of the Tribune. Full exposé. Every document. Every connection. Drake's entire operation laid out for the American people to see. Brooks stands abruptly. You can't do that. You'll compromise the investigation. Alert Drake. Give him time to destroy evidence and flee the country. He's already been alerted. He already knows we have evidence. Publishing doesn't change that. It just makes sure the truth gets out regardless of what happens to us. Brooks paces the small room. The conflict is visible on her face. Protocol versus results. Safety versus justice. The eternal tension of law enforcement when the system itself is corrupted. Give me 72 hours. 3 days. Let me coordinate with prosecutors who aren't compromised. Let me build parallel cases in multiple jurisdictions so Drake can't kill it with one phone call. After that, if you still want to publish, I won't stop you. Jack looks at Sarah. She's the journalist. This is her call. Sarah considers, then nods. 72 hours. But if anything happens to my daughter in that time, if Drake makes any move against my family, the story goes out immediately. No delays, no negotiations. Brooks extends her hand. Deal. They shake. It feels like sealing a pact with uncertain odds. But it's the best option they have. Brooks assigns 2 agents to escort them out. Young, professional, the kind who joined the Bureau because they believed in justice and haven't been crushed by bureaucracy yet. Jack approves. Outside the federal building, the Portland morning is gray and wet, rain misting down from low clouds. The kind of weather that makes you want to stay inside with coffee and pretend the world isn't burning down. They're halfway to the parking garage when Jack sees it. A flicker of movement in his peripheral vision. Someone watching from across the street. Male, mid-30s. Trying to look casual, but the posture is wrong. Too alert. Too focused. Jack's hand goes to his Sig Sauer. But before he can react, the man's hand comes up holding not a gun but a phone. He takes a photo. Then he's gone, disappearing into foot traffic like he was never there. They know we went to the FBI. Sarah's voice is tight. How? Could be surveillance. Could be someone inside feeding Drake information. Either way, it doesn't change the math. We've got 3 days to stay alive and hidden. Daniel checks his own phone. His face goes pale. Sir, we have a problem. Jack knows that tone. That's the tone of someone delivering news that changes everything. My sister, Claire, she's not answering her phone. I've called 6 times. Nothing. I sent one of my guys to check on her. The house is empty. No signs of struggle. But Nina's backpack is there. Claire's purse is there. They're just gone. Sarah makes a sound like all the air has been punched out of her lungs. Jack grabs her before she collapses, holds her up through sheer force of will. When did you last have contact? 2 hours ago. She texted that Nina was having breakfast. Everything normal. Jack's mind is running tactical scenarios. Kidnapping, leverage. Drake took them to force compliance. Or he took them to draw Jack into a trap. Either way, Nina and Claire are hostages now. Sarah is shaking, not crying, worse. The kind of shock that happens when your worst fear materializes and your brain can't process it fast enough. He took her, he took my baby. Jack holds his daughter, feeling the weight of every time he wasn't there when she needed him. Every missed birthday, every broken promise, every choice that put duty before family. This is the consequence. This is what happens when you spend 30 years making enemies and then try to protect the people you love. But he's done failing her. We're getting Nina back, I promise you. How? We don't even know where she is. Jack's already pulling out his phone, calling the one person who might have answers. The call connects after 4 rings. Brooks. They took my granddaughter. The FBI agent's voice is sharp. Who did? Drake's people kidnapped her and the woman she was staying with 2 hours ago. I need bureau resources now. Jack, I can't just mobilize assets because you think Drake is involved. I need evidence. I need jurisdiction. Then find it. Because in 6 hours, I'm going to find Nina myself. And when I do, anyone standing between me and my granddaughter is going to die. You want to stop that from happening? You get me information, locations, known Drake properties, associates, anything. Brooks is silent for 3 seconds. Then her voice changes, becomes the voice of someone making a decision that could cost her career. There's an address. Drake has a private property north of Coldwater Bay. Officially, it's owned by a shell company. Remote, secure. If I were going to hide someone, that's where I'd do it. Text me the coordinates. Jack, listen. If you go in there guns blazing, you could get those hostages killed. Let me coordinate a tactical team. Hostage rescue. Buy the book. Your book got my granddaughter kidnapped. I'm writing a new one. He hangs up. Sarah is looking at him with eyes that contain equal parts hope and terror. You can get her back? Jack nods once. Certain. Absolute. I didn't spend 30 years learning to kill people just to let some political thug take my family. Daniel is already moving toward his truck. I'm coming with you. This isn't Coast Guard business. The hell it isn't. Claire is my sister. And besides, you're going to need backup. Jack doesn't argue. He's done arguing. Done following rules that don't protect the people who need protecting. Owen taught him that you don't quit on your team. Well, Sarah and Nina are his team now. And nobody takes his team. The coordinates Brooks sends lead to a compound 40 miles north of Coldwater Bay. Private road, no trespassing signs. The kind of place that screams criminal enterprise or government black site. Jack studies satellite images on his phone during the drive. Main house, 2 outbuildings, perimeter fence, guard posts at the entrance. Professional security, which means professionals inside, which means this is going to get bloody. Sarah insists on coming. Jack tries to argue, but she cuts him off. That's my daughter in there. I'm not sitting in a truck while you two play soldier. You're not trained for this. I don't care. I'm her mother. Where she goes, I go. Jack recognizes that tone. He heard it in Maria's voice 30 years ago when she told him she was keeping their baby, no matter what he thought about the timing. Some arguments you can't win because they're not based on logic. They're based on love. And love doesn't negotiate. Fine, but you follow orders. When I say move, you move. When I say get down, you hit the ground. Understood? Sarah nods. Jack hands her a spare pistol from his go bag, shows her the basics. Safety, sight picture, trigger discipline. It's a 5-minute crash course in something that should take weeks to learn properly. But it's better than nothing. Daniel is checking his own gear. Coast Guard officers don't typically roll heavy, but Daniel came prepared. 2 handguns, tactical vest, radio equipment. The kid knows what he's doing. They approach the compound at dusk. The kind of gray twilight that makes everything shadows and suggestions. Perfect for an assault. Jack parks the truck a mile out and they move in on foot through dense forest. Pine and fir providing cover. The ground is soft from rain, muffling their footsteps. Jack moves point. Old muscle memory taking over. This is what he was trained for. Hostile territory. Unknown enemy strength. High-value targets to extract. Every SEAL operation he ever ran condensed into this moment. The compound's perimeter fence is 8 feet of chain link topped with barbed wire, security cameras at intervals, motion sensors, but nothing Jack hasn't defeated before. He cuts through the fence with wire cutters, creating an opening just large enough to slip through. Inside the perimeter, they move between buildings using available cover. 2 guards patrol in pairs. Professional. Alert. Jack signals Daniel to take the pair on the left. He'll handle the right. The takedowns are simultaneous and silent. Jack comes up behind his targets, arm around the first guard's throat, applying pressure until the man goes limp. Daniel does the same. They drag the unconscious bodies into shadow and take their radios. Sarah watches all of this with wide eyes. This is a side of her father she's never seen. The operator, the predator, the man who can turn killing into a choreographed dance. 2 guards down. But there will be more inside. The main house is lit, windows showing movement. Jack does a quick thermal scan with equipment Daniel brought. 6 heat signatures on the first floor, 2 on the second floor. One of the second floor signatures is smaller, child-sized. Nina. Jack's jaw clenches. His granddaughter is in there, surrounded by men with guns, scared, maybe hurt. The rage that fills him is cold and controlled, the kind of anger that doesn't make you sloppy, it makes you efficient. They breach the back door. Standard entry. Daniel goes left, Jack right, Sarah behind, providing cover. The hallway is empty. Expensive hardwood floors. Art on the walls. This isn't a warehouse or a safe house. This is someone's home, which means Drake thinks he's untouchable enough to conduct criminal operations from luxury. Voices from the next room. Jack peers around the corner. 3 men sitting at a dining table, cards, beer bottles, relaxed. They're not expecting trouble. Jack steps into the doorway with his Sig Sauer raised. Don't move. 2 of them freeze. The third goes for his weapon. Jack fires twice. Center mass. The man drops. The other 2 put their hands up, faces pale. Daniel secures them with zip ties while Jack moves deeper into the house. Footsteps above. Someone heard the shots. The element of surprise is gone. Now it's a race. Jack takes the stairs 3 at a time. The second-floor hallway has 3 doors. Behind one of them is Nina. Behind another might be more guards. He doesn't have time to be careful. He kicks in the first door, empty bedroom, kicks in the second, storage. The third door is locked from the outside, heavy deadbolt, the kind you use to keep people in, not out. Jack shoots the lock. The door swings open. Nina is sitting on a bed, hands bound with duct tape, a strip of tape across her mouth. Claire is beside her, similarly restrained. When they see Jack, Nina's eyes go wide with recognition and relief. Jack moves to them, cutting their bonds with his knife. Sarah rushes past him, gathering Nina into her arms, checking for injuries, whispering reassurances that sound like prayers. Are you hurt? Both shake their heads, scared but unharmed. Small mercies. Claire's voice is shaky. There are more of them. Downstairs. And someone else. A man in a suit. He was here earlier asking questions about you. About the evidence. Jack helps them to their feet. They need to move. Now. Before the rest of Drake's people realize what's happening. They're heading back down the stairs when a voice stops them. Holden, I thought you'd come. Jack turns. A man steps out of the shadows at the base of the stairs. Mid-40s, expensive suit. The kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. This isn't hired muscle. This is someone important. Marcus Drake, the senator's son. Jack's scene photos. Campaign manager, enforcer. The man who does his father's dirty work. And right now, Marcus is holding a pistol aimed at Jack's center mass. You've caused my family a lot of problems. Jack's Sig Sauer is pointed right back at him, Mexican standoff. But Sarah and Nina are behind Jack, exposed, vulnerable. Your family's problems started when your father murdered 7 Navy SEALs. Everything since then has just been covering it up. Marcus laughs. No humor in it. You actually believe that? You think my father is some kind of monster? He's a patriot. Everything he did for this country. He did it for money, for power, and he killed good men to protect his operation. Those men were collateral damage in a larger game. You're a SEAL. You understand acceptable losses. Jack's finger tightens on the trigger. 1 shot. He can make it. But Marcus might get a shot off too, might hit Sarah or Nina. The math isn't good. Behind Marcus, Daniel appears. Silent, professional. He puts his pistol against the back of Marcus's head. Drop it. Marcus freezes. For 3 seconds, nobody moves. Then Marcus does something unexpected. He starts talking, fast, desperate. You don't understand. My father is a monster. I've watched him kill people my entire life. I was 5 years old when he murdered those SEALs. He made me come on the boat, made me watch, said it was a lesson about power. I've spent 40 years being his weapon, his tool, doing things that keep me awake at night. And I can't stop. Because if I try to leave, if I try to testify, he'll kill me too, just like he killed my mother. The words tumble out, a confession, a breakdown. Marcus Drake is crumbling under the weight of decades of complicity. Sarah's voice cuts through. Then testify. Help us take him down. Marcus laughs, bitter. You think testimony matters? He owns judges, prosecutors, half the Senate. You can't touch him. Jack lowers his weapon slightly. We have evidence. Owen's files, financial records, Garrett's testimony. If you add yours, if you turn on him, we can build a case even his connections can't bury. For a moment, Marcus looks like he might agree. Like 30 years of fear might finally break. Then his expression changes, hardens. No, you don't get it. He's not just my father, he's everything, the operation, the network, and if I betray him, I'm a dead man. Behind him, headlights sweep across the windows. Multiple vehicles, coming fast. Marcus's radio crackles, a voice. Sir, we have response team arriving 3 minutes out. Marcus looks at Jack. Something like regret crosses his face. You should have killed me when you had the chance. Then he drops to the floor. Daniel's shot goes high, hitting wall. Marcus rolls, fires at Jack. The bullet catches Jack in his already wounded shoulder. Pain explodes through his body. He goes down. Sarah screams. Daniel returns fire. Marcus is moving, using furniture for cover, professional and fast. This isn't the scared confession anymore. This is the trained operator his father made him. Jack forces himself up. His vision is tunneling, blood soaking through his jacket, but Sarah and Nina are behind him, exposed. He raises his Sig Sauer with his good hand, tracks Marcus through iron sights. Marcus pops up to fire again. Jack squeezes the trigger. The shot is center mass, perfect. Marcus goes down, hard. Jack stumbles to him. Marcus is bleeding out, knows it. His eyes find Jack's. Tell the world what he did. Promise me. Jack nods. I promise. Marcus's eyes go distant, then empty. The senator's son dies on expensive hardwood floors in a house bought with blood money. Daniel is pulling Jack up. Sarah has Nina. They're moving. Out the back door, into the forest. Behind them, the vehicles arrive. Shouts, men deploying, full pursuit. They run through darkness, Nina in Sarah's arms. Jack leaving a blood trail he can't stop. His shoulder is catastrophic now. 2 bullets through the same wound. Bone damage, arterial bleeding. He's operating on pure will, and the knowledge that stopping means dying. They reach the creek, the same creek they used before. Fast water, rocky bottom, no choice. Jack goes in first. The cold hits like a physical blow. His body wants to shut down, give up. But Nina needs him. Sarah needs him. He keeps moving. Upstream, using rocks for stability. Fighting current and pain and the darkness creeping in at the edges of his vision. Behind them, flashlights sweep the forest. Dogs bark. They're seconds from being caught. Daniel returns fire. Controlled bursts, buying time. Jack reaches the far bank, collapses. Sarah and Daniel pull him into cover behind fallen trees. Nina is soaked, shivering, looking at her grandfather with eyes that understand he's dying. Sarah tears fabric from her shirt, packs Jack's wound, trying to stop bleeding. That won't stop. Stay with me, you hear me? Stay with me. Jack's consciousness is fading, the world going soft and gray. He hears Owen's voice, telling him the mission isn't finished, telling him to hold on. Can't quit, not yet. His phone is somehow still in his pocket, somehow still working. He pulls it out with shaking hands, calls Brooks. The FBI agent answers immediately. Jack, where are you? Marcus Drake is dead. We have Nina, but we're being hunted. Drake's people, dozens of them. I'm sending tactical teams. Give me your location. Jack looks around. Trees, creek, darkness. He has no idea where they are. GPS coordinates, follow my phone signal. Jack, if Drake's people find you first, they'll kill you all. You need to hide. Stay hidden until we arrive. Jack tries to laugh. It comes out as a wet cough. Hiding isn't my strong suit. The call drops. No signal, or battery dying, or both. They move away from the creek, deeper into forest. Daniel supporting Jack. Sarah carrying Nina. Every step is agony. Every breath a struggle. Jack's body is shutting down. They find a hollow beneath a fallen tree. Natural shelter. Concealment. Jack collapses into it. Can't go any further. Sarah is crying now, trying to hide it from Nina, but failing. You can't die. Not now. Not after everything. Jack manages a smile. Stubborn, remember? Nina crawls close to him, puts her small hand in his. Grandpa Jack, are we safe now? Jack looks at his granddaughter. 9 years old, traumatized, scared, but alive. That's what matters. You're safe, I promise. It might be the last promise he ever makes, but he means it with everything he has left. Above them, through the trees, he can hear the pursuit spreading out, searching. Dogs getting closer. Time is running out. Daniel has his weapon ready, prepared to make a last stand if it comes to that. Sarah holds Nina, praying to whatever gods listen to desperate mothers. And Jack lies there, bleeding into Oregon soil, thinking about Owen. About 7 dead SEALs. About 30 years of choosing wrong and finally getting one thing right. He kept his family safe. Whatever happens next, he did that much. The darkness closes in. Jack doesn't fight it anymore, just lets it come, knowing he did his duty, not to the Navy, not to his country, but to the people who actually mattered. His eyes close. The last thing he hears is Nina's voice. "Don't leave us, Grandpa." He tries to answer, tries to tell her he won't, but the words won't come. And the world goes dark. Consciousness returns in fragments. Pain first. Sharp and relentless, centered in Jack's shoulder, but radiating through his entire body like electrical current. Then sound, voices, medical equipment beeping, the antiseptic smell of a hospital. Jack's eyes open to fluorescent lights. Too bright. He tries to move and immediately regrets it. His left arm is immobilized, wrapped in bandages so thick he looks like he's wearing armor. IV lines run into his right arm. Monitors track vitals that are apparently worth tracking, which means he's still alive. Small victories. Sarah is in a chair beside his bed, asleep, her head resting on the mattress near his hand. Even in sleep, she looks exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, worry lines that weren't there a week ago. She's aged years and days. Nina is curled up on a cot in the corner, also sleeping. A nurse must have brought it. The kid's face is peaceful now, whatever nightmares she has temporarily at bay. Jack's family, still breathing, still whole. He did that much right. The door opens. Agent Brooks enters carrying coffee and the weight of someone who's been working cases for 72 hours straight. When she sees Jack's eyes open, relief crosses her face. "You're awake. The doctor said it would be another few hours at least." Jack's voice comes out as a croak. "How long?" 18 hours. "You went into surgery 6 hours after we found you. 3 hours on the table. They pulled 2 bullets out of your shoulder, repaired arterial damage, put in pins to stabilize the bone. You're going to need months of physical therapy." Jack processes this. 18 hours gone. Anything could have happened in 18 hours. Drake? Brooke sits in the chair across from his bed, sets her coffee down. Her expression becomes carefully neutral. That's complicated. Jack waits. He's good at waiting. You learn patience in SEAL training, in sniper positions, in interrogation rooms. You learn to let silence do the work. Brooks continues. "Marcus Drake is dead, shot during the hostage rescue. Official story is he was killed in a firefight with law enforcement. The truth is more complicated. Your bullet killed him, but we're not advertising that." "Why?" "Because you're already facing enough legal problems without adding justifiable homicide to the list. Senator Drake has filed charges. Kidnapping, assault, attempted murder of his son, breaking and entering, weapons violations. He's calling you a dangerous veteran with PTSD who went on a rampage." Jack almost laughs. "It hurts too much. And the evidence? Owen's files, Garrett's testimony? We have it all. I've spent the last 18 hours with prosecutors building cases in 3 different jurisdictions. Federal RICO charges, state murder charges, financial crimes, environmental violations from the toxic dumping. We're building something Drake can't kill with one phone call. But there's always a but. But Drake knows we're coming. He's already lawyered up. High-powered defense team. They're filing motions to suppress evidence, claiming illegal search and seizure, fruit of the poisonous tree, chain of custody issues, everything they can throw at the wall to see what sticks. Will any of it stick? Brooks looks tired, the kind of tired that comes from fighting a system designed to protect powerful people from consequences. Some of it might. Drake's good at this. He's been avoiding accountability for 35 years. He knows every trick. Every loophole, every judge who owes him favors. Sarah stirs, wakes, sees Jack looking at her, and something breaks in her expression. Relief and grief and anger all at once. She stands, moves to his bed, takes his good hand. "You scared the hell out of me." "Sorry. Don't apologize. Just don't do it again." "I'll try." They hold eye contact for a long moment. Father and daughter. 30 years of distance, closing one painful inch at a time. Nina wakes, sees Jack is conscious, rushes to the bed with the fearlessness of children who haven't learned that hospitals are places where people die. "Grandpa Jack, you're okay." Jack manages a smile that doesn't feel like a lie. "Takes more than a couple bullets to stop me, kiddo." Nina climbs onto the bed, careful of his injuries, but needing to be close. Jack wraps his good arm around her. This is worth all of it. Every scar, every nightmare, every year he spent alone because he couldn't figure out how to be human. Brooks clears her throat. Business isn't finished. There's something else you need to know. Drake held a press conference 6 hours ago, announced his son died in a tragic confrontation with a mentally unstable veteran, painted Marcus as a hero trying to protect an innocent child from her kidnapper. The media is eating it up. Jack's jaw tightens. Marcus died confessing his father's crimes. Died asking us to tell the truth. I know, but the only witnesses to that are you, Sarah, Daniel, and Claire. Drake's lawyers will tear you apart on cross-examination. Claim you're lying to justify murder. Sarah pulls out her phone. I recorded it. Marcus's confession, every word. Brooke sits up straighter. You recorded it? Journalist habit. When someone starts confessing to crimes, you document it. Sarah plays the audio. Marcus's voice fills the hospital room. Desperate. Broken. Confessing to decades of complicity. Describing his mother's murder. Explaining how his father made him watch 7 SEALs die when he was 5 years old. When it ends, Brooks is smiling, really smiling. This changes everything. This is a dying declaration. Admissible in court even though Marcus can't testify. Combined with Owen's evidence and Garrett's testimony, we have a case that even Drake can't beat. Sarah looks at Jack. Something passes between them. Understanding, respect, maybe the beginning of forgiveness. Brooke stands. I need to get this to prosecutors immediately. But Jack, you need to know, Drake isn't going to roll over, he's going to fight. And when powerful men fight, they don't play fair. He'll come after your credibility, your service record, your drinking, your divorce. Everything you've ever done wrong will be front-page news. Jack's been through worse, been shot at, been left for dead, been told he'd never walk again after the IED in Fallujah. He survived all of it. Let him come. The arraignment happens 3 days later. Jack watches from his hospital bed via video link. Senator Raymond Drake, 72 years old, silver-haired and distinguished, stands before a federal judge. His legal team is 5 attorneys deep. Expensive suits, practiced expressions of outrage. The charges are read: 7 counts of first-degree murder from 1987, 2 counts of murder for hire for Owen Blackwell and Marcus Drake, RICO violations, conspiracy to distribute narcotics, money laundering, obstruction of justice. The list goes on for 10 minutes. Drake pleads not guilty to all charges. His lead attorney, a man named Richard Vance, who's made his career defending white-collar criminals, addresses the court with practiced indignation. Your Honor, these charges are a politically motivated witch hunt against a decorated war hero and respected public servant. The so-called evidence is a collection of forged documents, coerced testimony, and the ravings of a mentally unstable veteran with an axe to grind. The prosecutor stands. Assistant U.S. Attorney Helen Vasquez, 45, sharp, the kind of lawyer who chose public service over private sector money, because she actually believes in justice. Your Honor, the evidence includes authenticated military documents, financial records spanning 35 years, testimony from multiple witnesses, and a recorded confession from the defendant's own son, made moments before his death. This isn't a witch hunt. It's accountability 35 years overdue. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Eleanor Martinez, has a reputation for not tolerating bullshit from either side. She looks over her reading glasses at Drake. Mr. Drake, you're a flight risk given your resources and the severity of these charges. Bail is set at $50 million, cash only. Surrender your passport. GPS monitoring. You're confined to your residence pending trial. Drake's expression doesn't change. He posts bail within 2 hours. $50 million like it's pocket change. Proves exactly how much money he's made from 35 years of criminal enterprise. But he's not free. Not really. The GPS monitor around his ankle is a digital leash, and the court of public opinion is harder to escape than any jail cell. Sarah's article publishes the day after arraignment. Front page of the Portland Tribune, then picked up nationally. The New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Fox News. The story is too big to ignore. Senator accused of murdering Navy SEALs. Decades of corruption. A son who died confessing his father's crimes. The headlines write themselves. Jack watches the coverage from his hospital room. talking heads debating guilt and innocence, legal experts analyzing the evidence, veterans groups calling for Drake's head, political allies distancing themselves with practiced ease. The story becomes a firestorm. Drake's response is calculated. More press conferences, interviews on friendly news networks, painting himself as a victim of political persecution, a patriot targeted by the deep state. His base eats it up. Truth doesn't matter when your supporters want to believe the lie. But Drake's support is cracking. 3 senators call for his resignation. The Armed Services Committee suspends his chairmanship pending investigation. Defense contractors start pulling donations. The political machine that protected him for decades is deciding he's toxic. Daniel visits on day 5. Jack's being released from the hospital tomorrow. Physical therapy starts next week. The doctors say he'll regain 80% function in his shoulder if he works at it. Maybe 90% if he's lucky. That's good enough. SEALs learn to adapt, learn to fight through limitations. Daniel has news. Good news for once. Thomas Garrett is ready to testify. We've got him in protective custody. He's been working with prosecutors, filling in details, corroborating Owen's evidence. He says testifying is like finally being able to breathe after holding his breath for 35 years. Jack nods. Garrett carried that guilt long enough. Time to let it go. There's more. Claire's doing okay, shaken but recovering. She's agreed to testify about the kidnapping, about what she saw at Drake's compound. And the best part, the Coast Guard is opening an investigation into Pacific Crest logistics. If Drake goes down, the entire smuggling operation goes down with him. We're talking dozens of arrests, cartel connections, corrupt officials. This could be the biggest drug enforcement bust in decades. Jack feels something he hasn't felt in years. Hope. Not for himself. He's made peace with whatever happens to him. But hope that maybe finally, the 7 men who died in 1987 will get justice. That Owen's 35 years of fighting weren't wasted. The trial is scheduled for 6 weeks out, fast by federal standards. The judge is pushing hard, aware that delay favors Drake. Gives him time to intimidate witnesses, to destroy evidence, to flee if the GPS monitor mysteriously malfunctions. Jack spends those 6 weeks in physical therapy and preparation. Prosecutors interview him dozens of times, walking through every detail, every piece of evidence, building a narrative that a jury can follow and believe. Sarah is interviewed too. Her article becomes the foundation for the prosecution's timeline. Financial crimes connected to dates, witnesses connected to events, a web of corruption so complex it takes flowcharts to explain. Nina returns to school. 9 years old and carrying trauma no child should have. But she's resilient. Kids are. She draws pictures of her grandfather in art class, writes stories about brave soldiers, processes what happened in the only way she knows how. Sarah brings her to visit Jack twice a week. They have dinner at Rita's diner, the 3 of them. 3 generations trying to figure out how to be a family. It's awkward and painful and the best thing Jack's experienced in 30 years. One night, after Nina falls asleep at the table waiting for dessert, Sarah finally asks the question that's been hanging between them. Why did you leave? Really? I know you say it was duty, but there had to be more to it than that. Jack looks at his daughter, really looks at her, sees Maria in her eyes, sees himself in her stubborn chin, sees the woman she became without him. I didn't know how to be both. SEAL and father, warrior and husband. Every time I came home, I felt like I was pretending, playing a role. The real me was the guy in combat gear extracting hostages or eliminating targets. Home felt like the pretend part. And by the time I figured out I was wrong, that home was the real part. And combat was the escape. It was too late. Your mother was gone. You were gone. I'd spent so long being a weapon that I forgot how to be human. Sarah's eyes are wet, but she doesn't cry. Mom never stopped loving you, even at the end. Even when the cancer was eating her alive. She'd talk about you, about the good times. The early years when you'd come home and it felt like everything would be okay. Jack's throat is tight. I should have been there. At the end. She didn't want you to see her like that. Said she wanted you to remember her the way she was. Strong, beautiful, alive. They sit in silence, Nina sleeping between them. The weight of lost years pressing down. But also something else, the possibility of building something new from the wreckage. The trial begins on a Monday in October, federal courthouse in Portland. Judge Martinez presiding. The prosecution has Assistant U.S. Attorney Vasquez leading, supported by a team of 6 lawyers. Drake's defense is led by Richard Vance and his small army of associates. The jury selection took 2 weeks. Finding 12 people who haven't formed opinions about a case this public is nearly impossible. But they manage. 7 men, 5 women, mix of ages and backgrounds. The kind of jury that could go either way. Jack sits in the gallery with Sarah and Daniel. His shoulder is still in a sling but improving. Physical therapy is hell, but it's working. He can lift his arm above horizontal now, can grip with decent strength. The doctors say he might make 95% function if he keeps pushing. The prosecution's opening statement is methodical. Vasquez walks the jury through 35 years of evidence, shows them the 1987 mission order signed by Drake, shows them the post-incident report that blamed equipment failure, shows them the supplier invoices proving the explosives were deliberately wrong. She introduces Thomas Garrett, the survivor, the witness, the man who's carried this secret for 35 years and is finally ready to speak. Garrett takes the stand. He's aged a decade and 6 weeks. The stress of coming forward visible in every line of his face. But his voice is steady when he raises his right hand and swears to tell the truth. Vasquez leads him through the testimony. What happened the day of the dive, how the explosives felt wrong, how he raised concerns and was told to follow orders. The blast, the chaos, surfacing to see the support boat leaving, Drake watching from the deck, making no move to help. Garrett describes treading water for 6 hours, watching his teammates' bodies float past, wondering if he'd be next. Finally being rescued by a fishing boat that had no idea they'd just saved the sole survivor of a mass murder. Then the threat. Drake in the hospital room, flowers in one hand, implied violence in the other. The choice that wasn't a choice, lie or lose everything. And 35 years of nightmares, of seeing his teammates' faces every time he closed his eyes, of wondering if he could have saved them if he'd been braver, if he'd spoken up sooner. By the time Garrett finishes, 2 jurors are crying. 3 more look like they want to. Drake's attorney cross-examines. Vance is good. He hammers on the 35-year delay. Why didn't you report this in 1987? Why wait until now? Isn't it convenient that you're coming forward after Senator Drake's son died and can't contradict your story? Garrett doesn't break. His answer is simple. I was 24 years old. I had a pregnant wife. Senator Drake threatened to kill them. I believed him then. I believe him now. I stayed silent because I was terrified. And I'm testifying now because Captain Blackwell died trying to get justice for our team. I owe him this much. The defense can't shake him. Day 3 brings the financial evidence. Sarah testifies, walks the jury through the corporate structures, the shell companies, the money moving from Pacific Crest Logistics to Drake Family Trust, billions of dollars over 3 decades. Vance tries to discredit her. You're the defendant's accuser's daughter. You have a bias. You're a journalist seeking attention. This is all speculation based on public records that could mean anything. Sarah doesn't flinch. Numbers don't lie. Money leaves a trail. Senator Drake's net worth is over $200 million. His Senate salary over 20 years is less than $4 million. Where did the other $196 million come from? The documents show exactly where. From cartel money laundered through shipping operations he controlled. The defense has no good answer for that. Day 5 brings Owen's evidence. Prosecutors present 35 years of documentation, photographs of Drake meeting with known cartel members, audio recordings of suspicious conversations, financial records tracking payments. It's overwhelming, detailed, undeniable. The defense argues it's all circumstantial, suggests Owen was paranoid, obsessed, building a conspiracy theory from innocent coincidences. But the sheer volume of evidence makes that argument look desperate. Day 7 is the hardest. They play Marcus Drake's recorded confession. His voice fills the courtroom, describing his father's crimes, admitting his own complicity, confessing to decades of cleaning up murders and bribing officials and running the family's criminal enterprise. Drake sits at the defense table, face impassive. But Jack sees it, the tiny crack in the facade, the moment when Drake realizes his own son has destroyed him from beyond the grave. The confession ends with Marcus asking Jack to tell the world what his father did, to promise. The courtroom is silent. Even Vance looks shaken. Judge Martinez calls a recess. Everyone needs to process what they just heard. In the hallway, Sarah finds Jack. It's working. The jury believes us. Jack nods. But he's been in enough fights to know that cornered animals are dangerous. Drake isn't finished. Not yet. Day 8, the defense presents its case. Character witnesses. Fellow senators praising Drake's service. Veterans groups highlighting his support for military funding. Business leaders talking about his economic contributions. It's all smoke, designed to make Drake look like a patriot being persecuted. But after Garrett's testimony and Marcus's confession, it rings hollow. Then Vance does something unexpected. He calls Jack to the stand. The prosecution objects. Jack isn't on the witness list, but Judge Martinez allows it. Defense has the right to call witnesses. Jack takes the stand, swears his oath, meets Drake's eyes across the courtroom. 2 old warriors, one who served his country, one who betrayed it. Vance approaches, friendly, conversational. Mr. Holden, you have an impressive service record. 30 years as a Navy SEAL, multiple commendations, Purple Hearts, you're a genuine American hero. Jack doesn't respond. Waiting for the attack he knows is coming. But you also have a history of alcohol abuse, isn't that correct? Jack keeps his voice level. I'm a recovering alcoholic, 5 years sober. And you were discharged from your consulting position with Seattle PD due to performance issues related to drinking. I resigned before they could fire me. Yes. And your marriage ended due to your absences. Your own daughter didn't speak to you for 15 years. You missed her wedding, your wife's funeral. You were, by your own admission, an absent father. Where is this going? Vance smiles, shark with blood in the water. I'm establishing that you have every reason to want to destroy Senator Drake. Your commanding officer, Captain Blackwell, spent decades obsessing over a conspiracy theory. He recruited you into his obsession, and you, dealing with guilt over your failed relationships and your drinking, latched onto this conspiracy as a way to find meaning, to be a hero again. This entire case is built on the delusions of a paranoid old man and the desperation of a washed-up drunk trying to justify his wasted life. The words land like body blows. Jack feels the jury shifting, doubting. Vance is good at this, taking truth and twisting it into something ugly. But Jack didn't survive 30 years as a SEAL by breaking under pressure. Is there a question, counselor? Vance leans in. Did you kill Marcus Drake in cold blood and then manufacture a confession to justify it? Jack's voice is cold, steady, absolutely certain. No. Marcus Drake confessed voluntarily. He was a victim of his father's evil. He died asking us to tell the truth. That's what I'm doing here. Telling the truth, something your client hasn't done in 35 years. The courtroom erupts. Judge Martinez bangs her gavel. Orders restored. But the damage is done. Vance tried to destroy Jack's credibility, and Jack threw it back in his face. The prosecution rests. The defense rests. Closing arguments are scheduled for tomorrow. That night, Jack can't sleep. Tomorrow, the jury deliberates. Tomorrow, 12 strangers decide if 35 years of fighting meant anything. If 7 dead SEALs finally get justice. If Drake pays for his crimes or walks free to kill again. Sarah stays with him. They sit in his small apartment drinking coffee and not talking. Sometimes silence is enough. Nina is asleep in the bedroom, dreaming whatever dreams 9-year-olds have. Jack hopes they're good dreams, hopes she'll grow up to be stronger than him, kinder than him, better than him. Around midnight, Sarah speaks. Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you for coming back, for protecting us, for trying. Jack looks at his daughter. I should have come back 30 years ago. Should have figured out how to be both, warrior and father. Owen tried to teach me that, but I didn't listen until it was almost too late. You're listening now, that counts for something. The closing arguments are powerful. Vasquez summarizes the evidence, the paper trail, the testimony, the confession. She reminds the jury that justice delayed is not justice denied, that powerful men must answer for their crimes, that 7 Navy SEALs deserve truth even if it comes 35 years late. Vance counters, argues reasonable doubt, questions the evidence, suggests alternative explanations, paints Drake as a victim of a conspiracy theory turned witch hunt. But his heart isn't in it. Even he knows the evidence is overwhelming. The jury deliberates for 3 days. Long enough to be thorough, short enough to suggest they're not deeply divided. On day 3, they return. Jack sits in the gallery holding Sarah's hand. Nina is with Claire, spared from witnessing whatever comes next. Daniel is beside them. Thomas Garrett and his wife Linda are in the row behind. Elena Santos, Owen's widow, sits with them. Everyone who fought for this moment gathered to see it through. The jury foreman stands, middle-aged man, former military by his posture. Judge Martinez speaks. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On the charge of 7 counts of first-degree murder, how do you find? The foreman looks directly at Drake. Guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupts. Drake's face goes white. Vance is already standing, filing objections. But it doesn't matter. The verdict is in. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder? Guilty. On the charge of RICO violations? Guilty. On and on, every charge, guilty, guilty, guilty. 35 counts total. Drake is guilty of all of them. Judge Martinez bangs her gavel. Sentencing is scheduled for 2 weeks from today. Until then, the defendant is remanded to federal custody. Bail revoked. Federal marshals move toward Drake. He stands, dignified even in defeat. But as they cuff him, Jack sees it. The mask finally falling, the fear beneath the arrogance. Drake is 72 years old. The charges carry multiple life sentences. He'll die in prison, and he knows it. As the marshals lead him out, Drake's eyes find Jack's. For one moment, across the courtroom, 2 men who've spent 35 years as enemies lock gazes. Drake's expression says he still doesn't understand why he lost, still thinks he should have won, still believes power and money should have been enough. Jack's expression says something simpler: justice. The courtroom clears slowly, people congratulating each other, reporters rushing to file stories. But Jack sits quietly, feeling the weight of 35 years lifting, feeling Owen's presence like a hand on his shoulder. We got him, Owen, finally got him. Sarah is crying. Not sad tears. Release, relief. Justice served. Elena approaches. Owen's widow. She takes Jack's hand in both of hers. Thank you, Owen would be so proud. Jack's throat is tight. He did all the work, I just finished it. That's what he wanted. Someone to finish it. He chose right. The sentencing hearing 2 weeks later is brief. Drake's attorneys file for appeal, request leniency, argue that a man of Drake's age and service deserves consideration. Judge Martinez isn't swayed. Mr. Drake, you murdered 7 Navy SEALs to protect your criminal enterprise. You spent 35 years murdering anyone who got close to the truth. You corrupted federal agencies, bribed officials, and destroyed families. Your son died confessing your crimes because he couldn't live with what you made him become. I see no basis for leniency. You are sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences for the murders in 1987. Additional consecutive life sentences for murder for hire, RICO violations, and conspiracy. You will spend the remainder of your life in federal prison with no possibility of parole. The gavel falls. Raymond Drake, 72-year-old former United States Senator, is led away in chains. His political career is over. His empire is destroyed. His legacy is dust. 7 Navy SEALs finally have justice. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Jack doesn't stop, doesn't comment, just walks through them with Sarah and Nina. His family, the thing that actually matters. They drive back to Coldwater Bay in silence. The ocean is gray and calm. The sky is clearing after days of rain. Somewhere out there, beneath the surface, are the waters where 7 men died 35 years ago. Jack thinks about them. Richie, Tom, Carlos, all of them. Young men who trusted their commander and died for that trust. He hopes they can rest now, hopes they know their sacrifice wasn't forgotten. That night, Daniel organizes a gathering at the VFW Hall. Veterans from Coldwater and beyond, people who knew Owen, people who served with the men who died. It's not a party. It's a wake, a memorial, a closing of accounts. Thomas Garrett speaks. Talks about carrying guilt for 35 years, about finally being free of it, about 7 men he'll never forget. Elena speaks about her husband's 40-year fight, about his dedication to truth, about his belief that justice matters even when it's hard. Sarah speaks about a grandfather she never knew, about a father who came back, about truth being worth fighting for. Then Jack stands. He didn't prepare remarks, doesn't have a speech, just speaks from the heart. I was supposed to die with my team in 1987. Owen saved me by pulling me off that mission. I spent 30 years wondering why. Why them and not me? What made me worth saving? I think I know now. Owen needed someone to finish what he started. Someone stubborn enough to keep fighting when it looked hopeless. Someone angry enough to not let powerful men get away with murder. He chose right. Not because I'm special, but because I owed him. Owed all of them. And you don't quit on your team, ever. The room is silent. Then someone starts clapping. Then everyone. A standing ovation for a fight that took 35 years but ended in victory. Later, much later, after everyone has gone home, Jack stands outside the VFW hall looking up at the stars. Clear night. No moon. The kind of darkness where you can see the Milky Way stretching across the sky. Sarah finds him there. "You okay?" Jack nods. "Yeah, for the first time in a long time, yeah." "What now?" Jack considers the question. What does a man do after spending 35 years fighting a war that's finally over? Now I learn how to be a grandfather, how to be a father, how to be human again. Sarah smiles. Owen would like that. Yeah, he would. They stand together in the darkness, father and daughter, connected now in ways they never were before. 30 years of distance closing, not erased. You can't erase that kind of time. But bridged, healed enough to build something new. Above them, the stars shine cold and distant. Below them, the ocean continues its eternal rhythm. And between the two, Jack Holden finally finds peace. The war is over. The mission is complete. His team has justice. His family has safety. After 35 years, he can finally rest. But not yet. There's still work to do. A granddaughter to raise, a daughter to know, a life to rebuild from the pieces of one that broke decades ago. Tomorrow he starts. Tomorrow he learns what it means to be present instead of absent, to choose family over duty, to be the man Owen believed he could be. And tonight, he just stands under the stars with his daughter beside him and feels something he hasn't felt in 30 years, hope. 6 months after the trial, Jack stands on the deck of a Coast Guard cutter watching the Oregon coast slide past. The water is calm today, rare for November, the kind of stillness that makes you think the ocean is holding its breath. Daniel is at the helm. Lieutenant Reeves got promoted after the Drake case. Full lieutenant now, commands his own vessel. He invited Jack out for what he called a routine patrol. But Jack knows better. This isn't routine. This is memorial. They're heading to the coordinates where the siren's call went down in 1987, where 7 Navy SEALs died because their commander valued money over their lives, where Thomas Garrett surfaced alone and spent 35 years carrying survivor's guilt. Today, they're putting that to rest. The physical therapy took 4 months. Jack pushed harder than the doctors recommended. Typical SEAL stubbornness. His shoulder is at 92% function now. Better than expected. He can do pull-ups again, can shoot accurately, can lift Nina onto his shoulders when she asks, which is often. Some scars don't heal completely. The bullet wounds left permanent marks, nerve damage that flares up in cold weather. But pain is just information. You acknowledge it and keep moving. The Coast Guard cutter slows as they approach the coordinates. Daniel cuts the engine. The sudden silence is profound. Just the sound of water against the hull. Gulls crying overhead, the wind carrying salt spray. Thomas Garrett is on deck. He brought flowers, 7 bouquets, 1 for each man who died. His hands shake slightly as he holds them, the weight of memory making them heavier than they should be. Sarah is here too. She brought Nina. The girl is 10 now, growing fast, asking questions about everything. Smart like her mother, stubborn like her grandfather. She understands what they're doing today. Understands it matters. Elena Santos stands beside Sarah, Owen's widow. 86 years old now, but still sharp, still fierce. She carries a photograph of Owen in his dress uniform, young and confident and certain he'd live forever. They all thought they'd live forever once. Jack steps forward. He's wearing his dress blues. First time in 5 years. The uniform still fits, barely. A few pounds heavier than his service weight, but SEALs don't go soft. They just get more weathered. He holds a brass bell. Ship's bell from the original Point Morrison lighthouse. Owen left it to him, along with the lighthouse itself. The will was specific. Jack Holden is to maintain the lighthouse as a memorial to fallen SEALs, a place where veterans can find peace. Jack spent 3 months restoring it. New paint, new wiring. The light works now. Every night it sweeps across the ocean. A beacon for the lost. A reminder that some people don't forget. The ceremony is simple. No official speeches, no military protocol. Just family and friends saying goodbye to men who've been gone 35 years but are finally being honored properly. Thomas speaks first. His voice breaks, but he pushes through. Richie Gomez, best demolitions expert I ever knew. Could disarm anything. Had a laugh that made everyone else laugh. Died trying to reach the surface. I saw him, saw the light go out of his eyes. I'm sorry I couldn't save you, brother. I'm sorry it took so long to tell your story. He drops the first bouquet. White roses. They float on the calm water. Tom Brennan, quiet guy, read philosophy books, wanted to be a teacher after the service. Never got the chance. I think about the kids you would have taught, the lives you would have changed. The world is poorer for losing you. Another bouquet, red roses this time. Carlos Silva, toughest man I ever met, could run forever, could carry twice his weight, had 3 kids at home. They grew up without a father because I didn't speak up soon enough. I'm sorry, Carlos. I'm so damn sorry. Thomas is crying now. Elena moves beside him, puts her hand on his arm. Thomas continues through the rest of the names. James Peterson, Michael Chen, Robert Hayes, David Martinez. 7 good men, 7 families destroyed. 7 futures stolen. 7 bouquets floating on still water. When Thomas finishes, Jack steps forward. He rings the bell once for each name, 7 clear tones carrying across the water. Traditional naval memorial. The sound echoes off the distant cliffs, seems to linger longer than physics allows. Then Jack speaks. Not prepared remarks, just truth. I didn't know these men well. I was young, new to the team. They were the veterans, the ones who were supposed to teach me how to survive, how to be a SEAL. Owen pulled me off this mission 3 days before it launched. Saved my life. But I spent 30 years wondering why. Why them and not me? What made me worth saving when they were better men, better warriors, better everything? I don't have an answer. I just know that Owen spent 35 years fighting to give them justice. And I spent the last 6 months trying to honor that fight. Trying to make sure they're remembered not as casualties of a training accident, but as what they really were. Victims of murder. Warriors betrayed by the man who was supposed to protect them. Raymond Drake is in prison now. He'll die there. That's justice. But it doesn't bring these men back. Doesn't give their families the time they lost. Doesn't fix what was broken. All we can do is remember. Tell their stories. Make sure the world knows they mattered. That they were more than names on a memorial wall. They were sons, fathers, brothers, friends. They were the best of us. And they deserved better than what they got. Jack's voice cracks on the last sentence. He's not a man who cries easily. 30 years of training taught him to compartmentalize emotion, to stay mission-focused, to keep personal feelings locked away where they can't interfere with operational effectiveness. But today, he lets the tears come. For 7 men he barely knew but spent 35 years avenging. For Owen, who died fighting a battle nobody believed in. For all the time lost. All the wounds that don't heal. All the ghosts that don't rest. Sarah is beside him now, her hand on his shoulder. Nina slips her small hand into his. 3 generations standing together over water that holds too much history. The bouquets drift slowly apart, carried by current toward the open ocean. Eventually they'll sink or wash ashore or be scattered by storms. But for now they float together. 7 flowers for 7 men. A small gesture. Inadequate. But it's something. Daniel fires a 3-volley salute. The shots crack across the water. Military tradition. Final honors. The kind of ceremony these men should have gotten 35 years ago. Elena scatters Owen's ashes. She does it without ceremony. Just opens the urn and lets the wind take him. Gray powder dissolving into sea spray. Owen spent 40 years on this water. Fought his war from lighthouses and boats in small coastal towns. Now he's part of it. Part of the ocean he loved. The cutter turns back toward shore. Behind them, the memorial site fades into the distance, but Jack looks back until he can't see it anymore. Some things you don't turn away from. Some things you witness to the end. The ride back to Coldwater Bay takes an hour. Nobody speaks much. There's nothing left to say that hasn't been said. Sometimes silence is the most honest language. At the dock, reporters are waiting. The trial made Jack and Sarah minor celebrities, the kind of fame neither of them wanted. Sarah handles it better. She's a journalist, knows how to work the media, gives them enough to satisfy without giving them everything. Jack just wants to go home. Home is a small house now, 3-bedroom, walking distance from the lighthouse. Sarah and Nina moved in 2 months ago. Her apartment lease expired and she didn't renew. Said Coldwater felt more like home than Portland ever did. Said Nina needed her grandfather. Said maybe she did too. It's crowded sometimes. 3 people learning how to share space, learning how to be a family. But it's good crowded, the kind that fills empty rooms with life instead of echoes. That night they have dinner together. Nina's choice, spaghetti. She helps Jack cook. Well, she makes a mess while Jack does most of the work. But she's learning. 10 years old and already better at domestic tasks than Jack was at 30. Sarah sets the table, pours wine for the adults, milk for Nina. They sit together in the small dining room, candlelight because Nina insists it's fancier, classical music playing softly because Jack discovered he likes it. 30 years of chaos and silence. Now he craves beauty, gentleness, things he thought were weak when he was younger. Nina talks about school, about the history project she's doing on Navy SEALs, about how her teacher said her grandfather is a hero. Jack deflects, says heroes are people who don't make it home. He's just someone who is too stubborn to quit. But Nina doesn't buy it. 10 years old, and she already sees through his deflections. She inherited Sarah's ability to read people, to see what they're hiding. After dinner, Nina does homework at the kitchen table. Jack helps with math. Sarah works on her laptop. She's writing a book, the full story of the Drake investigation. Publishers are interested, multiple offers. She's taking her time, wants to get it right, wants to honor Owen and the 7 SEALs properly. Around 9, Nina goes to bed. She hugs Jack goodnight, holds on longer than necessary. Kids do that when they're processing trauma, when they need reassurance that the adults will keep them safe. Jack reads to her, a chapter from whatever book she's working through. Currently, it's Treasure Island. Nina loves the adventure, the pirates, the idea that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Jack loves that she still believes in that kind of story, that the last 6 months didn't crush her faith in heroes. When Nina's asleep, Jack and Sarah sit on the back porch with coffee. The lighthouse is visible from here, its beam sweeping across the dark ocean, steady, reliable, a light that never quits. Sarah breaks the silence first. The prosecutor called today. Drake's attorneys filed another appeal. 6th one. All of them denied, but they keep trying. He's not getting out. The evidence was overwhelming. The verdict was unanimous. He's going to die in prison. I know, but part of me still worries. Powerful men find ways to escape justice. They always have. Jack shakes his head. Not this time. Drake's power came from secrets, from people being afraid to speak up. But the secrets are out now. Everyone knows what he did. He can't threaten witnesses anymore, can't bribe judges, can't make problems disappear. He's just a 72-year-old man in a federal prison watching his legacy turn to ash. Sarah considers this, then smiles. Owen would love that. The poetic justice of it. Drake spent 35 years building an empire on murder and lies. And it all came down because one stubborn old man refused to let it go. Jack raises his coffee mug. To Owen, the most stubborn bastard I ever knew. Sarah clinks her mug against his. To Owen. They sit in comfortable silence. Father and daughter, 30 years of distance behind them. Not erased. You can't erase that kind of time. But forgiven. Healed enough that they can sit together without the weight of all the things left unsaid crushing them. Eventually, Sarah asks the question Jack knew was coming. What now? You've spent the last 6 months finishing Owen's mission, restoring the lighthouse, building this new life. But what do you actually want? What's next for Jack Holden? Jack considers. What does a 58-year-old retired SEAL want when the war is over and the enemy is defeated? I want this. Dinners with my family, reading to my granddaughter, helping veterans find their way back from whatever wars they fought. I spent 30 years chasing missions that didn't matter as much as I pretended. Now I want to focus on things that actually do. Sarah smiles. Mom would be happy to hear that. She always said you'd figure it out eventually, that you just needed time to learn how to be human instead of a weapon. Jack's throat tightens. Maria. He thinks about her every day, wonders what she'd say about all of this, about him finally coming home in the ways that matter, about Sarah forgiving him enough to let him be part of her life again. He thinks she'd approve, or at least he hopes she would. The next morning brings routine. Jack makes breakfast while Sarah gets Nina ready for school. Eggs and toast, coffee for the adults, orange juice for Nina. the kind of ordinary domesticity Jack never thought he'd have. He drives Nina to school. New tradition, started 2 months ago when Sarah's car needed repairs. Continued because Nina asked him to. She likes the time alone with her grandfather, likes hearing his stories about Owen and the lighthouse and the ocean. Today she asks about Drake. Kids do that. Ask the hard questions adults are afraid to voice. Is the bad man ever going to get out of jail? Jack keeps his eyes on the road. No, he's going to be there for the rest of his life. Good, he hurt a lot of people. Yes, he did. Did you hurt him back? Jack glances at his granddaughter, 10 years old and already trying to understand justice versus revenge. Trying to figure out what's right in a world that's complicated and messy and doesn't offer easy answers. I didn't hurt him, I just made sure the truth came out. Made sure people knew what he did. Sometimes that's enough. Nina thinks about this, then nods. Grandma Victoria would be proud. Mom says she died fighting bad people too. Jack's chest tightens. He's told Nina some about Victoria Blackwell, Sarah's grandmother, the woman Jack never met but whose legacy runs through all of them. Courage, truth, the refusal to stay quiet when silence enables evil. She would be proud of all of us, of your mom especially, and of you for being brave through everything that happened. Nina smiles, changes subjects with the ease of children who don't dwell on heavy topics longer than necessary. Starts talking about the art project she's working on, a painting of the lighthouse. She wants to give it to Jack for Christmas. At school, Nina hugs him goodbye, runs off to join her friends. Normal kid doing normal things. That's the victory, not Drake in prison, not justice served, but this. A 10-year-old girl who's lived through trauma but still laughs, still dreams, still believes good people exist. Jack drives to the lighthouse. He spends mornings there now. Maintenance, upkeep, but mostly just being present. Veterans stop by, some by appointment, some just wandering, drawn to the place like moths to light. Today, it's a young Marine, mid-20s, Afghanistan veteran. PTSD written all over him in the way he can't make eye contact, and how his hands shake when he accepts the coffee Jack offers. They sit in the keeper's cottage. Jack restored it to habitable condition. Simple furnishings, a wood stove, books on shelves, a safe place for people who need safety. The Marine doesn't talk much at first. Jack doesn't push. He learned from Owen that sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is just be present. Let silence do the work. Let people process at their own pace. Eventually, the Marine speaks. I heard about what you did, taking down that senator, standing up when everyone said you were crazy. I wanted to ask, how did you do it? How did you keep fighting when it looked hopeless? Jack considers the question. He's been asked variations of it dozens of times since the trial ended. Veterans wanting to know how to fight their own battles, how to deal with systems that don't care, how to find meaning when the war ends and you're left with scars nobody else can see. I didn't do it alone. That's the important part. I had help. My daughter, Daniel Reeves, Thomas Garrett, Owen's widow. None of us could have done it individually, but together we were strong enough. The Marine nods, processing. Jack continues. And I had something worth fighting for. Not just justice for dead teammates, but my family, my granddaughter, the chance to be present in ways I never was before. That gave me purpose. That kept me moving when everything hurt and quitting would have been easier. What if you don't have family? What if you're alone? Then you build family, not blood, but bonds. Find your team, other veterans, people who understand. You don't have to fight alone. You're not supposed to fight alone. The Marine stays for 2 hours. They talk about Afghanistan, about the friends he lost, about the guilt of surviving when others didn't, about nightmares that don't stop, about feeling like a weapon that doesn't know how to be human. Jack knows all of it, lived all of it. He shares what helped him. Therapy, routine, purpose, admitting you're broken and asking for help. The things that sound simple, but are the hardest work you'll ever do. When the Marine leaves, he looks lighter, not fixed. You don't fix that kind of damage in one conversation, but maybe a little less alone, a little more hopeful that survival is possible. Jack watches him drive away. Then he climbs to the top of the lighthouse. The view from up here is spectacular. Ocean stretching to the horizon, coastline rugged and beautiful, the kind of vista that makes you feel small and significant at the same time. His phone rings. Thomas Garrett. The older man's voice is steady now. None of the shakiness that marked their first conversations. Testifying freed something in him, let him finally set down weight he'd carried too long. Jack, I wanted to let you know I'm retiring next month. From the VA. Linda and I are moving to Arizona. Warmer weather, grandkids are there. Time to focus on family instead of work. That sounds good. You've earned it. I wanted to thank you for giving me the courage to finally speak up, for helping me find peace. I can sleep now. For the first time in 35 years, I can sleep without seeing their faces. Jack understands. He's sleeping better too. The nightmares still come sometimes. Probably always will. But they're less frequent, less intense. His unconscious mind seems to recognize that the mission is complete, that the debts are paid, that rest is permitted. You did the hard part, Thomas. You told the truth when it could have cost you everything. That took more courage than anything I did. They talk for a few more minutes, making plans to visit when Thomas is settled in Arizona, promising to stay in touch. The kind of bonds forged in combat don't break easily, even when the combat is courtrooms instead of battlefields. After the call, Jack sits in the lantern room watching the ocean, thinking about the last 6 months, about how much has changed, how much has stayed the same. Drake is in prison. The 7 SEALs have justice. Owen's legacy is secure. Pacific Crest Logistics was dismantled. Dozens of arrests made. Cartel operations disrupted. Federal agencies cleaned up. The ripples from the investigation are still spreading. But the most important changes are smaller, personal. Jack has coffee with Sarah every morning, reads to Nina every night, helps veterans find their way back from darkness, lives in a house instead of an apartment, belongs to a community instead of existing on its edges. He's building something, not just restoring a lighthouse, but rebuilding himself, learning to be the man Owen always believed he could be, present, connected. Human. It's harder than any mission he ran as a SEAL. Requires different courage, the courage to be vulnerable, to admit you need help, to let people close enough to hurt you, to choose love over isolation even when isolation feels safer. But it's worth it. Worth every uncomfortable moment, every difficult conversation, every time he has to fight the instinct to run from connection. That afternoon, Daniel stops by. He's got news, big news judging by his expression. The Coast Guard is creating a new program. Veterans outreach, helping former service members transition to civilian life. They want someone to run it, someone who understands both worlds, someone who's lived the struggle and come out the other side. Jack knows where this is going. They want me. They want you. It's part-time, flexible hours. Based here in Coldwater, you'd be helping veterans find resources, navigate VA bureaucracy, connect with support systems. Everything you're already doing at the lighthouse, but with institutional backing and actual funding. Jack considers he's not great with institutions. 30 years of bucking authority, of doing things his own way, of trusting his judgment over protocol. But this is different. This is a chance to help on a larger scale, to turn what he's building at the lighthouse into something that can reach more people, to give other veterans what Owen gave him: purpose, direction, a reason to keep fighting. I'll do it. Daniel grins. I told them you would. Start date is January 1st. Gives you time to get your affairs in order, to figure out how to work within a system instead of around it. Jack laughs. That's the real challenge. But he'll figure it out. SEALs adapt. It's what they do. That evening, Jack tells Sarah and Nina about the new position. Nina is excited, thinks it's cool that her grandfather will be helping people. Sarah is proud. Says Maria would be proud too. Says this is who Jack was always supposed to be. Not a weapon, a healer. They celebrate with ice cream. Nina's choice again. The kid has solid priorities. They eat on the back porch watching the lighthouse beams sweep across the darkening sky. A family. Imperfect. Healing. But together. Later, after Nina is asleep, Sarah shows Jack something she's been working on. A dedication page for her book. It reads simply, for Owen Blackwell, who never stopped fighting, for the 7 SEALs who deserve better, and for my father, who taught me that it's never too late to come home. Jack reads it twice. His vision blurs. He's not a man who cries easily, but these last 6 months have broken down walls he spent decades building. That's perfect. Sarah closes her laptop. The book is done. I'm sending it to publishers next week. Whatever happens, I'm proud of it. It's the truth. All of it. Owen would approve. He would. And your mother would too. They sit in comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need filling. Jack thinks about Maria, about how she waited years for him to figure out what mattered, about how she never stopped believing he would. He wishes she were here to see this, to see him finally getting it right, to see their daughter thriving, their granddaughter growing up strong and curious and unafraid. But maybe she knows. Maybe somewhere in whatever comes after, she's watching, smiling, finally seeing the man she always believed he could become. The weeks pass in new rhythms. Jack starts his position with the Coast Guard. The work is challenging: bureaucracy, paperwork, navigating systems designed to help, but often making things harder. But it's good work, meaningful work. He's helping a dozen veterans already, finding them housing, getting them into treatment programs, connecting them with resources. Each one reminds him of himself 6 years ago. Lost, angry, drinking to forget. Isolated because connection felt dangerous. He sees them, really sees them, and he shows them the path back, not because he's special, but because he walked it himself. Christmas comes. Nina's painting of the lighthouse is beautiful, better than Jack expected from a 10-year-old. She has talent, Sarah's eye for composition, Maria's sensitivity to color and light. Jack hangs it in his bedroom where he can see it every morning, a reminder of what he's building, what he's protecting. He gives Nina something Owen left for her: a compass, old brass, engraved with coordinates, the location of the lighthouse. Owen's note says it so she can always find her way home. Nina doesn't fully understand the significance. She's too young, but she will someday, when she's old enough to appreciate that home isn't a place. It's people, connection, belonging. Sarah gives Jack a photograph, restored from one of Owen's files. Young Jack and Owen in Vietnam, 1972. Two warriors who didn't know they'd spend the next 50 years connected by mission and purpose and stubborn refusal to quit. Jack stares at it, remembers that day, remembers Owen pulling him out of a firefight, telling him he had potential, that he'd be a great SEAL someday, that he just needed to learn when to fight and when to protect. It took 35 years, but he learned. New Year's comes. Jack stands at the lighthouse at midnight, alone by choice, watching the ocean reflect starlight, thinking about everything that changed in the last year, everything he gained, everything he lost, everything he found again. Owen is gone, but his legacy lives. In the restored lighthouse, in the veterans Jack helps, in Sarah's book, in Nina's understanding of courage, in Thomas Garrett finally sleeping peacefully, in 7 SEALs being remembered as they deserved, and in Jack himself, finally learning to be present, to choose family, to understand that the most important battles aren't fought with weapons. They're fought with patience and vulnerability, and the courage to let people in. The lighthouse beam sweeps across the water, steady, unwavering, a light in darkness, a beacon for the lost. Jack thinks about the young Marine who visited weeks ago, about the email he got yesterday. The kid is doing better, getting help, finding his way. He thanked Jack for showing him it was possible, for being proof that broken warriors can heal. That's the real victory. Not Drake in prison, not justice served, but this, helping people find their way back from darkness, showing them that survival is possible, that meaning exists even after the shooting stops. Jack's phone buzzes, text from Sarah. "Happy New Year, Dad, love you." 3 words. Simple, but they mean everything. For 30 years, Sarah wouldn't speak to him, wouldn't acknowledge him. Now she calls him Dad, says she loves him, lets him be part of her life. He texts back, "Love you too. See you for breakfast." New traditions. Weekly breakfasts. Teaching Nina to fish. Helping with homework. Being present for school plays and art shows and all the ordinary moments that make a life. It's not glamorous, not heroic, not the kind of story that gets made into movies, but it's real, it's his, and it's enough. The lighthouse beam continues its eternal rotation. Tomorrow, Jack will help another veteran. We'll read another bedtime story to Nina. We'll have coffee with Sarah and talk about everything and nothing. We'll continue building the life Owen died believing he deserved. 1 year ago, he was alone, broken, drinking in a small apartment and wondering if survival was worth the effort. Now he's home. Really home. Not a location, but a state of being, connected, present, part of something bigger than himself. The ocean is calm tonight, the stars are bright, the lighthouse stands eternal, and Jack Holden, 58-year-old retired Navy SEAL, finally understands what Owen tried to teach him 35 years ago. You don't quit on your team. And family is the team that matters most. He walks back to his house. Sarah and Nina are asleep inside. His family, his purpose, his reason for all of it. Tomorrow brings new challenges, new veterans to help, new moments with Nina, new chapters in the life he's building. But tonight he sleeps peacefully. No nightmares, no ghosts, just the deep rest of a man who completed his mission and found his way home. The lighthouse beam sweeps across his window, regular as a heartbeat, steady as Owen's faith, bright as hope. And in the morning, when Jack wakes to the sound of Nina making breakfast with Sarah, when he sits at their table and looks at his family and feels gratitude instead of guilt, he knows Owen was right. The war is over, the mission is complete, and the light always finds its way home, just like he did. The end.